Welcome to the 2026 organizational meeting of the Parma City School District Board of Education. I am Brittany Karpik, President Pro Tem. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Mr. Nucio.
Hold on a second. Dr. Early,
Present.
Ms. Kerpick,
Present.
Ms. McTaggart,
Present.
Mr. Reyes,
Present.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Present.
Dr. Cruz, can you please confirm that this meeting is currently being live streamed?
Yes, it is.
Can you please monitor the live streaming throughout the meeting, and if there is a problem, please speak up immediately so that the technical difficulty can be addressed.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Unless there is objection, we will dispense with the reading of the special meeting notice. I move to adopt Resolution 2026-01-04, approval of board meeting agenda.
let me stop you. We have to do the oath of office first.
Oh, okay, sorry.
They can't vote yet, so we have to do the oath of office.
Yeah, it's not on there. It's okay.
So the first one is Dr. Early, which would be her husband, Councilman Early, doing the oath of office. Go in front.
Where are we conducting?
Right in front.
Front and center. Yeah.
I,
I,
Leah Early,
Leah Early,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United
of
States
the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as a member of the Board of Education
as a member of the Board of Education
of the Parma City School
of
District,
the Parma City School District,
Cuyahoga County,
Cuyahoga County,
Ohio,
Ohio,
to the best of my
to
ability
the best of my abilities
and in accordance
and in accordance
with the laws now
with the laws now
in effect and hereafter
in effect and hereafter
to be enacted
to be enacted
during my continuance
during my continuance
in said office,
in said office,
and until my successor
and until my successor
is elected
Is-
and qualified.
is elected and qualified.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Reyes is up next. And I'm not going to kiss you yet.
We hug it out.
Raise your right hand, please. I, Nick Reyes,
I, Nick Reyes,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as a member of the Board of Education
as a member of the Board of Education
of the Parma City School District,
of the Parma City School District,
Cuyahoga County, Ohio,
Cuyahoga County, Ohio,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
in accordance
and in accordance
with the laws
with the laws
now in effect
now in effect
and hereafter to be enacted
and hereafter to be enacted
during my continuance in said office
during my continuance in said office
until my successor
until my successor
is elected and qualified.
is elected and qualified.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Sean.
Mrs. Sebastian is up next, and I think Mayor Gallo is going to do yours.
May I say a few words?
Absolutely.
Okay, just very quickly, I want to publicly congratulate Ms. Sebastian, Dr. Early, and Mr. Reyes, and also thank you to Ms. Kerpick and Ms. Taggart for their continued service on this board. And we're super thrilled to have a resident of Parma Heights serving on the school board. I'm very fond of her passion and dedication to the community. She's going to do a great job. And also, we have here State Representative Brennan, Councilman Rounds, and Councilwoman Lisa Marushak in support of you, so that says a lot. These are tough jobs if you care, so we're looking forward to working with you.
I'm looking forward to working with you all.
Okay, ready? Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Tammy Sebastian,
I, Tammy Sebastian,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as a member
as a member
of the Board of Education
of the Board of Education
of the Parma City School District,
of the Parma City School District,
Cuyahoga County, Ohio,
Cuyahoga County, Ohio,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
and in accordance
and in accordance
with the laws
with the laws
now in effect
now in effect
and hereafter
and hereafter
to be enacted
to be enacted
during my continuance in said office.
to during my continuance in said office. That was a mouthful.
Yes. And until my successor
And until my successor
is elected and qualified.
is elected and qualified.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor.
Congratulations to our 3 new members. I move to adopt Resolution 2026-01-04, approval of the board meeting agenda.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt, we have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2026-01-04. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call please, Mr. Nucio.
Ms. Kerpick,
Yes.
Mr. Reyes,
Yes.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mrs. McTaggart,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Resolution 2026-01-04 has been approved. In accordance with Section 3313.14 of the Ohio Revised Code, the Board of Education shall organize by electing one of its members president for a term of 1 year. I would like to open the floor to nominations for the office of 2026 President of the Parma City School District Board of Education. I nominate Dr. Early.
Second.
Seeing no further nominations, I move to close nominations.
Second.
Roll call to close nominations, please, Mr. Nucio.
Ms. Kerpick,
Yes.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mrs. McTaggart,
Yes.
Mr. Reyes,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Now we get to take roll call. Roll call for the nominee. So you'll tell
Roll
me.
call, okay,
I'm
sorry.
sorry. They'll say who they're gonna vote for. Obviously, there's only one candidate, but
Okay,
you have
yeah.
to say.
Okay, thanks. Roll call to elect the 2026 Parma City School District Board of Education President, please, Mr. Nucio.
Ms. Kerpick,
Dr. Early.
Dr. Early,
Myself.
Mrs. McTaggart,
Dr. Leah Early.
Mr. Reyes,
Dr. Early.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Dr. Early.
Well, I had a statement prepared in case this occurred, and I printed it off and forgot it at home because I was so nervous about the meeting tonight. So I'm reading on my cell phone. I do not want to come across disrespectful by doing that. So to my board members, thank you. I am truly honored by the trust that you've placed in me, and I accept this role with gratitude and a deep sense of responsibility. I truly believe that every decision we make matters because behind every policy and every vote is a student we are here to serve. As president, I am committed to serving with respect, collaboration, and transparency. While we may bring different perspectives to the table, we are united by a shared goal, ensuring every student in our district feels supported, challenged, and inspired to succeed. I look forward to working together with our board, our superintendent, our district educators, families, and community to move our schools forward with purpose and optimism. Thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Dr. Early has been elected 2026 Parma City School District Board of Education President. Mr. Nucio, will you please administer the President's oath of office to Dr. Early?
very similar to what you just did. I, Leah Early,
I, Leah Early,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as President of the Board
as President of the Board
of Education
of Education
of the Parma City School
for
District,
the Parma City School District,
Cuyahoga County, Ohio,
Cuyahoga County, Ohio,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
in accordance with the laws
in accordance to the laws
now in effect
now in effect
and hereafter
and hereafter
to be enacted
to be enacted
during my continuance in said office
through my continuance in said office
and until my successor
and until my successor
is elected and qualified.
is elected and qualified.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for moving my stuff over. I appreciate that. Thank you. In accordance with Section 3313.14 of the Ohio Revised Code, the Board of Education shall organize by electing one of its members vice president for the term of 1 year. I would like to open the floor to nominations for the office of 2026 Vice President of the Parma City School District Board of Education. I would like to nominate Tammy Sebastian.
Second.
Seeing that there are no further nominations, I would move to close nominations.
Second.
Roll
Second.
call to close nominations, please, Mr. Nucio.
Dr. Early.
Roll call to elect the 2026.
I'm sorry, no,
Oh,
I'm sorry, we have to move, you moved and Ms. Kerpick second to not close nominations, now we have to vote on that.
Same mistake as Brittany, sorry. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm a little nervous.
So,
All right, let's go ahead and vote. So
Dr. Early?
I vote for Tammy Sebastian.
No, I'm sorry,
No.
this is the closed nominations.
Oh
You just
my
say
gosh.
yes or no.
Okay, yes. Sorry, thank you for your patience and grace.
Ms. Kerpick?
Yes.
Mrs. McTaggart?
Yes.
Mr. Reyes?
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian?
Yes.
Now do I roll call to elect? Is that correct, Mr.
That is
Nucio?
correct.
Yes, okay. Roll call to elect the 2026 Parma City School District Board of Education Vice President, please, Mr. Nucio.
Dr. Early?
Yes.
This time you say who you want.
Tammy Sebastian. Yes, Tammy Sebastian.
Ms. Kerpick?
Tammy Sebastian.
Mrs. McTaggart?
Tammy Sebastian.
Mr. Reyes?
Tammy Sebastian.
Mrs. Sebastian?
Myself.
Tammy Sebastian has been elected 2026 Parma City School District Board of Education Vice President. Mr. Nucio, will you please administer the oath of office to Mrs. Sebastian?
Let's see if I can get all the words out this
I
time.
won't jumble it up. I, Tammy Sebastian,
I, Tammy Sebastian,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as Vice President of the Board of Education
as Vice President of the Board of Education
of the Parma City School District,
of the Parma City School District,
Cuyahoga County, Ohio,
Cuyahoga County, Ohio,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability
in accordance with the laws
and in accordance with the laws
now in effect
now in effect
and hereafter to be enacted
and hereafter to be enacted
during my continuance
during my continuance
in said office
in said office
and until my successor
and until my successor
is elected
is elected
and qualified.
and qualified.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Sean. I would just like to say something. I want to begin by thanking Mayor Gallo for administering the oath of office for me today. I truly appreciate your time and your support and our community's support for not only myself, but our schools. I'm deeply grateful for the trust that was placed in me by our community and for the encouragement of my family and my friends who believed in me and supported me along the way. I do not take this responsibility lightly. Titles matter less than the work that we do together. It's an honor to be sworn in, and I'm committed to listening, learning, and working collaboratively to do what is best for students. And I am also honored by the confidence that my fellow board members had in me and placed in me by electing me vice president. Thank you so much. Thank you.
If you come back to a March meeting, hopefully I'll have it all figured out by then. So we'll figure it out over the next few. Are there any amendment or walk-on items? No, all right.
I had a little something to say. So, over the past couple of months, I've developed more than a rapport, but a working relationship with the 3 new board members. And I'm genuinely grateful for that. And I appreciate and respect the different perspectives that you bring. I believe in collaboration, and I think that it will only benefit the district in a positive way. To Tammy, Ms. Sebastian, I want to say this. You are a true advocate, and I have come to know you these past couple of months, and I've come to know your passion and your willingness to stand firm in what you believe is right. We have so much in common, and I appreciate that about you. With that, I truly hope and believe that we can work together. And when we respectfully disagree, we move forward in a shared goal, because I know that our goals are shared. I look forward to serving alongside someone who is as deeply passionate as I believe I am. So congratulations on Vice President and being a new member of our Board of Education. Dr. Leah Early. Given your experience in education, I know the first time that we met, I was enlightened. And I appreciate your background in education, and I believe that with your relationships that you already have built within this district, that you can be a bridge from the Board of Education to the employees of the district. And that's more valuable than anything else, I believe, because I do believe that we need that. So congratulations on being president. I look forward to working with you. And Nick? Yes. I'm kind of going off the cuff and then also trying to look back at some things that I put together, and I appreciate you guys being patient with me. It's been, a long road commuting. But Nick, I want to say how much I value the working relationship that we've developed. I know how much your integrity matters to you, and I appreciate that about you. And you're definitely not short of character, and that's so important, and I really appreciate that. I believe that you'll always strive to do the right thing and vote in good conscience and whatever's needed in order to bring this district forward. And Brittany, I hope that together we can continue to improve our processes and communication, and really hope that we can continue on a working relationship this year. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. You're very welcome. Dr. Cruz, thank you so much for being here this evening on short notice. And I know that you have a really great presentation that you're going to present today. So I appreciate that. Thank you. And that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nucio, I want to confirm that we do not need to approve Resolution 2026-01-05 since we did not have walk-on items, or would we need to approve that?
No, you're correct.
Correct,
We
okay.
do not need to approve it.
So we will, at this point, we open the meeting to the public to address the board on tonight's agenda items. Do we have any requests to be heard forms?
We do not.
So we will move on to Resolution 2026-01-06. I move to adopt Resolution 2026-01-06, approval of the written records of proceedings from the January 6, 2026 special board meeting of Board of Education meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2026-01-06. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Roll call, please, Mr. Nucio, on Resolution 2026-01-06.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Kerpick,
Yes.
Mrs. McTaggart,
Yes.
Mr. Reyes.
Yes.
Resolution 2026-01-06 has been approved. I move to adopt Resolution 2026-01-07, approval of the 2026 organizational items under consent action. And I'm going to read all 27 items. Number 1, establishing a place and time for the 2026 regular meetings of Board of Education in accordance with Section 33.13 or 3313.15 of the Ohio Revised Code. The Board of Education shall fix the time and dates for holding its monthly meetings. Number 2, acceptance of the 2026 schedule of committee meetings. Number 3, approval of the membership to the Ohio School Boards Association for 2026. Number 4, approval of membership in the Ohio School Boards Association Legal Assistance Fund for 2026. Number 5, providing for employment of legal counsel for the Board of Education. Number 6, establishing Board of Education Service Fund for 2026. Number 7, dispensing with separate resolutions approving checks. Number 8, authorizing the treasurer to file real estate complaints. Number 9, authorizing the treasurer/CFO to sign and/or certify third-party contracts as fiscal agent for the non-public schools. Number 10, establishing blanket purchase orders not to exceed the designated amount. Number 11, the affirmation of policy manual. Number 12, the authorization for submission of grants and funding programs. Number 13, authorizing selected student activity program contracts. Number 14, authorizing the superintendent to establish class fees, student fees, and other appropriate fees. Number 15, appointment of hearing officer. Number 16, appointment of compliance officers. Number 17, authorizing non-salary remuneration. What a word. I'm going to practice that at home and never mess that word up again in a meeting. For employees. Number 18, establishing travel reimbursement rates. Number 19, approval of certified substitute pay rates effective January 1st, 2026. Number 20, authorization to establish base hourly rates for recovery instructors. Number 21, approval of salary schedule for classified substitute employees. Number 22, approval to accept resignation of any employee of the Parma City School District. Number 23, approval of contract with Emory UC Services to provide direction and assistance with the administration of unemployment compensation claims and related issues. Number 24, providing to retain architectural, engineering, and environmental consulting firms for the Parma Board of Education. Number 25, authorization for superintendent or designee to advertise for bids pursuant to Section 3313.46 of the Ohio Revised Code. Number 26, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of donations, and ending with number 27, a resolution to designate the treasurer, CFO, as the designee of the Parma City School District Board of Education to attend the required public recordings training as mandated by state law.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2026-01-07. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Reyes.
I request to remove items number 2, acceptance of 2026 schedule of committee meetings. Item number 5, providing for employment of legal counsel of the Board of Education. Item number 10, establish blanket purchase order not to exceed amount. And item number 11, affirmation of policy manual.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. We're going to take it up one item at a time. So let's start with item number 2 has been removed from the consent agenda and will be taking under new business. Do you have a proposed date and time you would like to discuss?
Mr. Nucio, can you please clarify? Can we talk about this at the end of the meeting?
If you want to pull it and talk about it at a meeting, it would have to be at a future date.
We can't talk about it at the end of this meeting as new business?
If
I
he
think you're-
proposes to do it to lay on the table now, could we vote if we discuss it today?
Could we vote as a separate resolution? Is that what you're asking?
So it would become new business.
I guess with new business, I don't know, I've never had that situation, but I would think that if you wanted, we could discuss it as new business, but
So from my reading from what I understand, if a board member removes an item from the consent agenda and proposes a new date with the new proposed time being tonight during this meeting, we would vote, and if the majority agrees, we could discuss it now, but then we would vote on the item now, so it doesn't essentially die. Does that sound
That sounds
in
correct.
alignment?
Yes.
So, Mr. Nucio, we'll take a vote if we are going to discuss item number 2 further. Roll call, please.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Kerpick,
Yes.
Mrs. McTaggart,
Yes.
Mr. Reyes.
Yes.
So based on that, we would discuss it now. Mr. Reyes, what questions do you have, or what would you like to discuss with that consent item, or anyone, before we vote on it? For number 2.
Sure. So, I see that we have a copy of the committee schedule, and I would like to see if we can finalize these times once the committees are appointed. A lot of these are at 9 a.m., sometimes 2 days a week, and that could be very difficult for some of us who work full-time. So I would like to request that we finalize the dates once we know which committees we're serving on.
Are we doing questions and comments? Okay. So I'm not in disagreement to changing dates, but I don't think it's necessary. I mean, if that's an issue for one or more people, maybe that's something that we could come back to. I don't know if I'm on any committees with you. I don't think we've even appointed. Have we done committees yet?
That's after this.
Yeah. So, I mean, I already have these dates. I mean, I don't want to change the entire resolution. So that's just my thoughts.
I know that we can change these dates and we can change these times after committees are established, but I'm thinking to the senior leadership who probably has these on their schedule already, at least the first couple ones, in that it could be difficult for a lot of people involved if we were to make changes to this now. So my opinion would be to pass them as written now, and then in the individual committees, I know we can go through and we can change them with the 2 members that are there to what aligns best for their schedules.
Ms. McTaggart, do you have anything?
I do think that, Brittany, you bring a good point that we're working with a lot of different schedules in scheduling these committee meetings, the dates and the times. So maybe moving forward for next year to prevent this from recurring, I would say if we could have the dates and the times pushed out to the board members so that we could have like maybe a little bit more of a collaborative approach and figure the dates and the times that work for each one of us prior to. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I would agree as well. I will vote here in a minute, but I would vote that we approve it as it currently stands, and then we can amend it after the committees connect. We can amend the schedule as needed at a future meeting. Do you have any other comments or? So I think what we're saying is we'll approve it as is tonight. Whatever committees you're assigned to with those individuals, you guys can connect, and if you decide to change the time, we'll amend it at a future meeting on the official.
Sean, can you confirm the process for that?
Yeah, so in 2025, we approved the meeting we approved all the committee meeting dates at the organizational meeting, but one of the board members who was on the finance committee, she had an issue with the time and date. So at a later board meeting, we passed another resolution amending that first organizational meeting agenda, consent agenda item, and with new dates and times. So we did that last year.
So if I'm understanding that correctly, you had to go back and rewrite the resolution for the consent agenda?
No, we passed a new resolution just for the finance committee to amend the time and dates of the finance committee meeting, and just that, and we passed it at a later date. It was the second or third meeting of the year.
Okay.
And that was going forward, and the board voted on that in the past. And that was the new dates and times.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying. Appreciate it.
just add that we certainly are flexible and we can look at each individual committee. For the ones that I serve on, we have certainly made several adjustments for the folks who participate. So that's not a concern.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So given that this was pulled from the consent action items and listed as a new business, we will vote on if we are approving the current item as it is. So Mr. Nucio, roll call, please.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Kerpick,
Yes.
Mrs. McTaggart,
Yes.
Mr. Reyes.
Yes.
All right, next we will move to the next item you mentioned, Mr. Reyes. The item number 5, providing for employment of legal counsel for the Board of Education, has been removed from the consent agenda and will now be taken up under new business. I'll turn it over to you to share any questions or thoughts or comments that you have.
Thank you, Dr. Early. So my biggest concern was I see this firm Gingo and Barr is only through 131/2026. So I was curious, what recommendations do we have to replace them, and where do those recommendations come from?
So we have a number of law firms listed on that agenda item, the consent agenda item, and there are some Brickler and Grayton. They used to be Brickler and Eckler. Is one there. Weston Hurd's another one. Those are firms that Squires Sanders Boggs is another one. There are firms that are very well qualified to do that type of work, and I believe Dr. Cruz worked with Brickler Grayton. Is that correct in your past job?
There are some attorneys on each of those firms that I have worked with, yes.
So there are a lot of qualified firms on there. Lindsay Jingo, who did represent us last year in her firm, she's not going to make a recommendation as to what firm we should go with since she's discontinuing services with us. She said she would never do that. It's solely the decision of the Board of Education which firm that we should use instead of her firm going forward. And whatever firm is approved by the Board of Education, she will work with them for at transition for all the work she's been doing, but she'll never make a recommendation. But there are a lot of qualified firms on that list.
Okay, so which firm on this list is taking over for Gingo and Barr?
So Jingle and Bear, they did a lot of work on the certified teacher side. And I don't really do the certified teachers, I'm all numbers guy. So that's Dr. Hunt and Dr. Cruz would probably decide which firm they think is best moving forward. So that's not a decision I would make.
What I would like to propose is an executive session to discuss personnel matters so that we could look into these firms and possibly do some research and bring forth another firm that we feel would be a better fit or a good fit, excuse me, since this specific firm has decided no longer to represent us.
We could look at the open issues that they have, but I don't believe we could discuss the merits of each firm in executive session. In executive session, we could talk about the personnel matters, but not which firm to use going forward. That would have to be something discussed in a regular session.
I think it would be helpful to discuss personnel matters regarding some of these firms.
And also, if this resolution this item is pulled, then we wouldn't be able to use any of the law firms listed on there. We'd have to use the prosecuting attorney for the county, which, it's a huge county. They probably don't have the time. And two, I doubt they know anything about special ed law or healthcare law, some of the things that are specific to the school district.
I wouldn't recommend pulling it. I think I'd recommend passing it now if we agree that we go into executive session to discuss some of these personnel matters.
I could
And then we
add,
can discuss further.
we, just like we talked about with the committees, we could, if there is another firm and an attorney that we wanted to work with that wasn't on this approved list, then we could certainly look at another resolution or another sort of contract or an agreement that we would be working with them.
One thing I want to make sure, though, this is not something that has to be approved at an organizational meeting within a consent agenda. Is that correct?
We've
It can
always.
be approved
It
later.
can be approved separately, but if we don't approve it as part of the organizational meeting, then we can't use any firm except to the prosecutor.
I apologize. So what I'm not recommending pulling it. What I'm recommending is that we pass it, and then still, if we can agree to go into executive session to discuss those personnel matters, if that makes you feel more comfortable and answers your questions.
So my question is, which of these firms will replace Ginkgo and Bayer?
From
I
my
have a-
understanding, none of them will. We will add an additional.
There are, just to answer that question specifically, there are several firms on there that specialize in special education law, that specialize in human resources and personnel matters. So we have a very comprehensive list where we would be able to select attorneys from these firms. They have many attorneys that we can work with, that we would be able to get legal counsel. So there are plenty of firms on here. There was, I believe, only one addition from the difference from the list from last year, but it wasn't necessarily a replacement to Ginkgo and Bayer. It was just in addition to.
I have a question as well. Whether we decide to talk about it in executive session or a general meeting, if we decide at any point we did not want to have one of these law firms working with us, can we remove them through an amendment?
Yes, you could remove any of them or just not use them at all. Last year, I don't believe we used Bricker or Graydon at all. We approved ones we could use, and that allows the Board of Education to use those, but it doesn't necessarily say you have to use them. It just gives you the ability to. Sometimes you might have a conflict, like our general counsel represents us, but also represents another district that we're in conflict with, and they can't represent both, so we might have to pick another attorney from that list. It just gives us the ability to work with other attorneys. It doesn't say we have a contract with them or we have to use them. It just gives us the ability to.
Thank you.
My recommendation to discuss personnel matters in executive session is that I feel if we discuss some personnel matters regarding that law firm, it'll be beneficial in choosing another one.
So if, Mr. Nuccio, just to clarify, so if we were to pass this today and come back at a later date and change who we use as counsel, would there be any fees from that firm for canceling?
No, the firms only charge us for services rendered. So if they don't do any work for us, then we don't get a bill.
So there's no retainers? Letters of
We
engagement?
do not do retainers here.
Mr. Nuccio,
Yeah.
so I just want to clarify, this pool, if you will, of attorneys that we have, like Dr. Cruz has said, they all have different, within each firm, there's special education attorneys, there's labor attorneys. So what I'm understanding is we do have, and these are attorneys we've already worked with and established, is that correct?
That is correct, except I believe Retzel's at the bottom. I'm not
Okay.
sure. It might be at the bottom. Retzel's the only one that we have not used while I've been here my 8 years, but the other firms we have all used. We've used them.
So we don't need a replacement. What we're saying is we already have that availability. We don't need to replace one firm.
No, we have a lot of qualified firms on there that
Okay.
can definitely take over for the work for Lindsay Jingle did.
Okay.
Weston Hurd's a good one. Squires Bog's a good one. Brickler Graydon's another good one. Those are three really qualified firms that could take over the work that Lindsay was doing.
Okay, thank you.
Or you could add another one if you want to at a later time. You want to use, I can't even think of another one, but there are other firms out there that are also qualified too.
Okay, thank you.
So, Dr. Cruz, you had mentioned that this list has one more firm than it did last year. So is that under the assumption that that firm is going to replace Gingo and Bear?
No, not necessarily. So Retzel, the firm that was added, there were some attorneys there that we had some conversations with at some different conferences. Dr. Hunt and I had worked with some of them in the past, and so we thought it would be a good idea to have that firm on there in the event that we needed additional expertise and counsel.
Mr.
Gingo
Nucio?
and Bear, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
No, go ahead. please.
Gingo and Bear specializes in primarily the personnel matters, compliance matters, human resources, special education. So that whole kind of all the educational law, school district law that these other firms also have very qualified attorneys in that sector.
Okay. So basically, if I'm counting this correctly, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9, and then Gingo and Barry will be gone after the end of this month, so that's 8. Is that correct? Okay, how many we have last year?
We had the same attorneys as last year, except we did not have Retzel.
Okay. And do you have any idea how much money we spent on attorney fees last year?
I don't know that. Probably, if I had to take a guess, probably 500,000.
So if we were to add another firm, how much would that increase the cost?
Adding another firm doesn't add cost. It just gives us the ability to use that firm. We might use, say, Weston Hurd instead of Lindsay Jingle. That doesn't add costs on top of what we spend on Lindsay. It's just whatever services we need. If there's some kind of investigation that we need a law firm to do for us, it might cost us more money. If we don't have any work, it's going to cost us less money. It's just whatever services they provide for us. It's not, this is the flat dollar amount, it's going to go up because we added another firm.
Okay. So, and please forgive me, guys, I'm a little, it takes me a while to understand things. It's just
Well,
hard
there's
words,
no
but-
orientation, to be fair,
Yeah, there
to
is
being
not.
a
You
board
just thrown it
member,
in
so
here,
I
so,
appreciate your questions.
So I guess my question is, we have 9, we'll be back to 8, which is the same number we had last year. So if I'm looking at this from an outsider's perspective, the decision was already made on who's going to replace Gingo and Bear.
No, that's not correct. We're just saying these are the list of attorneys and we can use, and Dr. Hunt and Dr. Cruz will probably decide within the next month, I'd imagine, which one of these firms is probably best suited to replace Lindsay. That's not saying that we added Retzel and they're the one. It could be any of them.
I just want to clarify, the Board of Education will decide what law firm will replace Lindsay. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. And sometimes I think that maybe that's hard to receive. But I just want to be clear that the Board of Education will decide who replaces Lindsay and takes over her business.
So from what I'm hearing, Dr. Hunt and Dr. Cruz may recommend for the board to review. So yeah, absolutely, we would be the ones to vote and approve any. Yeah, absolutely, go ahead.
So we can certainly have conversation around attorneys that are a good fit for the board, a good fit for the work that we're doing, and we can consider that, absolutely. I don't believe we would be voting or approving a certain firm for certain work. That comes with this agenda, that this comprehensive list of firms allows many attorneys available to us. And so if it's not a good fit for whatever reason, we can select a different attorney. And we've really covered Northeast Ohio pretty well with the educational law, with the firms that we have here. I feel very, very confident that we will get solid legal advice that will protect our district and our students and our families with this list here. As far as an individual attorney from a particular firm, we can make that adjustment per the board's recommendations, but it wouldn't be a resolution after this point. Because we don't have individual attorneys listed on this consent agenda. We are just approving the work with a particular firm, not a specific individual.
Okay, so, so I guess if, please correct me if I'm wrong, but, so right now, we have no one replace Gingo and Bear. We will spread that work out through the people who are on this list, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Through conversation and discussion, the board members will choose what work from this list. If we have any other firms that we want added, then we can add it through another resolution in the future.
I guess my concern is I see this date of 1/31, which is 3 weeks away.
That was the intention of the firm. They initiated the separation with our board.
Can they extend that if we need more time?
Absolutely. I would assume. I
Okay.
guess I should not. We could reach out to them.
Okay, so we don't
but
have that in writing from them?
we do.
We do have that,
Mhm.
that they would extend the time if needed?
We do not have the extension, but I have been working with the attorneys at that firm on some active situations that we needed legal advice. And so I know that they are willing to support us in the transition of all of the different situations that we have ongoing.
So I guess, Sean, what would be the appropriate, I'm sorry, Mr. Nucio, what would be the appropriate environment to discuss these attorneys and how to hand off that workload from Gingo and Bear? Would that be executive session or another meeting?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
What would be the correct environment for us to have that discussion about who will take over for Gingo and Bear?
So if it's personnel matters, then it could be an executive session. Typically, it would be the superintendent who oversees personnel that he would decide, probably with consultation with Dr. Cruz, which firm to use. The board, as Dr. Cruz said before, the board would not vote on which firm.
We
Use-
choose which we choose which firm is used for.
I'm not going to argue with you on this. We have different opinions on this.
That's not an opinion, though. That's black and white. The board makes that decision.
I don't agree with you, but I'm not going to argue.
Can
on-
I, sorry.
May I just, I'm sorry. I don't ever recall taking a vote on what work Lindsay was going to have and what cases and, what things she was going to take on for our district. So I just can't envision that we would make that decision going forward for a future firm. That's all.
I just want to see where we're at as a board moving forward. I'm hearing different conversations. So are we okay? I mean, my concern is, I hear what everybody's saying, and I definitely think having a conversation in executive session could be good, but I'm not okay with walking away tonight without approving attorneys and being at the hands of, would that be the county prosecutor that would have to represent us if we did not have a approved list, Mr. Nucio?
That is correct.
I would be concerned about not having that representation, but I am open to having further discussions in executive session. I'd like to know where everybody else is with that.
I agree. I move that we take a vote on what we currently have, and we can agree to meet in executive session at a selected date to discuss further.
So I'm just trying to get some clarification. Is the executive session the correct environment to discuss this?
We can discuss personnel matters in executive session. We cannot discuss which attorneys or other firms should represent us in the future. That would have to be in a general session.
Okay. So
So would-
if we were to revisit this, we have to do it in general
That is correct.
session, like you said. Okay. I guess my concern is, like I said, just this timeline. I don't know how,
I would suggest that we approve these today so we're not without representation, and then we could hold a work session, maybe within the next week or two, if we could get a date together for everybody, so we could discuss further in a public meeting. And then if we needed to go into executive session afterwards to discuss personnel matters related to the firm that currently represents us, we could do that all in one day, all in one session. That would be my suggestion, but I feel very strongly that we need to approve this list today, so we do not go without representation until that happens.
Mr. Nucio, so if we don't approve this today, does that take effect immediately?
Yes, if you do not approve it today, we can't use any of these firms, and we have to call them and tell them stop doing work for us until it is approved.
And where are we bound by that? Is that ORC or?
Yes, our Ohio Revised Code says if you don't approve firms, you have to use a county prosecutor.
Immediately?
Well, they're not approved. We have to use the county prosecutor. We can't use them unless we're approved.
Okay.
I just wanted to say one thing. I think that I appreciate the conversations right now. And I really appreciate your questions, because so in front of an audience, it is truly really hard to ask these questions. And again, there's no orientation at all. I'm learning through you asking these questions and through the conversations that we're having. And so this is what a board meeting is. And I know we kind of want to move on with order of business, but I appreciate your questions, and I agree with some of them. And so I think I'm learning here. I think we're all learning a little bit, and we're going to learn to work together through these board meetings. And sometimes they're going to take a little bit longer than anticipated, and that's just what we were elected to do. So I do agree, however, passing them today, because to answer your question and to clarify, if we don't come up with a specific firm that we're saying we're going to use in place of the one that is leaving on the 31st, if a situation arises, we can choose from this list at that point, at that moment then. So we're not going to be without representation when she leaves, or excuse me, when that firm leaves, if that helps.
That does help. It seems to me like the decision has already been made on who's replacing this firm, and that's why I'm asking these questions.
That is not true,
So we had 8 firms last year,
right?
and once Ginkgo and Bear leaves, we'll be down 8 firms again.
We added one, yeah, because so we'll have 8 firms. And we could use any one of those 8 to represent us.
Correct, but you had mentioned that Ginkgo and Bear deals with personnel issues.
So do
They
many of those other firms as well. So we're set with the work that they specialized in is also a specialty area of many of the other firms on there, which is pretty typical that you'd have a comprehensive list that allows, depending on the situation, new leadership in superintendent, assistant superintendent, treasurer, that they may have known someone from a previous district or situation, so they've already have an established relationship. So that's where it's nice to have that list of all of those firms available to us throughout the year, so that we can get legal advice and counsel for the board in order to, in a way that is with someone that we've trusted in previous situations. So it's really, there are more on there than we will probably use throughout the course of the year. And each of those firms has many, many attorneys that work for that firm. So it's great to have that number.
Okay.
And to answer your previous question, so there is Ohio Revised Code, and I can send you that number, but it's 3313.35. And that's where it talks about in the school districts where the director of law serves as the board's legal advisor or the prosecuting attorney. So,
Thank you, Dr.
yeah,
Cruz.
you're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
And there is, I'll just keep going. There is a bylaw as well that we have that outlines that we typically do this at the organizational meeting to have our legal services, but it can also happen with a resolution at any time during the year. And that bylaw is policy 0156.
Thank you, Dr. Cruz.
You are welcome.
So we don't need to retain other firms to replace Ginkgo and Bear, is that correct?
I am confident and comfortable with the list of firms that have been presented to you tonight.
Okay, so we will need to ask for an extension then from Ginkgo and Bear?
We can ask them for extensions. That doesn't mean they'll grant us one.
Okay.
But they said they would work to transition with whichever firm we select. I can't say that they want to extend their services beyond January 31st. That's a conversation we would have to have with them.
Okay. Would it be fair that if we pass this today, that we also agree on a date at the end of the meeting today to discuss this further? Would that be fair with everyone?
Yeah, I would love to pick a date to discuss this.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think
Great.
that would be a great thing to do before we get out of here. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for all your patience, everyone. I told you I'm a little slow, so it just takes me some time.
Are you comfortable if we go to a vote at this point? Or do you have any other comments or questions before we move to vote to approve the list?
I don't have any more questions.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to vote now if we approve the list as it currently is. So, Mr. Nucio, roll call, please.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Kerpick,
Yes.
Mrs. McTaggart,
Yes.
Mr. Reyes.
Yes.
Item number 10 has been removed from the consent agenda and will be taking up under new business at this time. So, Mr. Reyes, item number 10.
Thank you. So this is regards to blanket purchase orders, the amount here. And I do want to say that, Mr. Nucio, you explained this to me very well this morning. I just think that it's important that the board hears it too. You had some great information to share about it. So I think that as a normal person, when you see $1 million on a piece of paper, it makes you question what's going on. So if you could just share it with the board, what you shared with me this morning, I think that'd be great.
Okay, for the audience, if you don't know what a blanket purchase order is, it's a purchase order that is not for a specific item. So an example would be Home Depot. If our maintenance guys need something from Home Depot, we don't necessarily want to do a purchase order to have them buy one box of nails. You have to go through the whole process and get things approved. It doesn't make sense to do that. So you might do a $1,000 purchase order to Home Depot, and our maintenance guys can go buy nails, screws, caulk, whatever they need to buy, and then they turn in the receipts or the credit card bills or whatever it may be. That it saves us time and allows us to purchase things. You can have it open more than just one time. So if you open up a 3-month blanket purchase order, they could use it over 3 months to buy whatever they need for our operations. We don't want to do 15 purchase orders because they go to Home Depot 15 different times. It doesn't make sense. A couple of years ago, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years ago, my financial auditors, was Ray and Associates, they said, in order to do blanket purchase orders, you must do a resolution approving the maximum amount of a blanket purchase order. So at that time, I asked them, what do you think a proper amount should be for a school district our size? And they said $1 million is probably reasonable. $1 million sounds like it's a high number, and it is a high number, but we are a school district of $150 million budget in the general fund alone, so the numbers tend to be larger. We have blanket purchase orders for our electricity, and if I ask most people how much do we spend on electricity in a month, I told you the answer today, so you know the answer. But most people would not think that we spend over $100,000 a month on electricity. So those numbers add up fast. So that's, of course, we have like 14 buildings and a bus garage, and so we have larger numbers. Now, I would say 95% of our blanket purchase orders are like $1,000 or $2,500. But we might have something like law firms; those could be larger because I believe Brinza McIntyre and Seed, who's our general counsel, we paid them about $300,000 last year, which is close to $30,000 a month for them. So, I mean, do we ever come close to $1 million? Rarely. We do have a super blanket, which is a little different than a blanket, but we spend $2 million a month on healthcare claims. Because we spend about $25 million a year. So that's a super blanket, which is different than a blanket. But that's
Just to clarify, Mr. Nucio, and I apologize for cutting you off, but just for clarity. So blanket purchase order is you can spend up to $1 million without having board approval. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct.
Okay.
The limit of $1 million means I can't open a blanket purchase order for 1.2 million. I can only go up to $1 million. But, I mean, it's rare that we would have something because other than electricity or maybe gas, but those could be super blankets, just a little different. So it's rare that we'll even have anything over, I don't know, 25,000. I mean, most of them are $1,000 to Lowe's, $1,000 to Home Depot, different repair shops we have come out, $2,500. The $1 million just saying, they said you have to put a number because we don't want you putting a $10 million purchase order.
Another question for you. So are you able to, anything within that $1,000, or excuse me, $1 million, do you still need board approval then?
The board approves our expenditures in a monthly, every month you approve our expenditures. You would not necessarily approve the purchase order. That's something that the treasurer's office, in the treasurer, it's be me,
Up to $1 million.
would have to approval up to $1 million. But, I mean, it's not going to happen. It's just a number that we have to put for the auditors said, you need to do this, so we're abiding by what our auditors are saying. Because we didn't have this until about 3 or 4 years ago.
So another clarifying question. So if the purchase order was changed from $1 million to $500,000, would you need board approval then after that if you needed a purchase order larger than $500,000?
I just would not be able to issue a purchase order over 500,000 if that number was changed. The board would not approve a purchase order. It approves the maximum amount I'm allowed to issue. So if it's 500,000,
Anything after that then would need approval.
I would need you to approve changing the limit, not approving the blanket purchase order. And it's rare that anything's over 25,000. I mean, it's just a routine thing that the auditor said you have to do. It's not being fiscally irresponsible. It's just they said you have to put a number. This is the number they recommend. I took their advice because they're our financial auditors.
Mr. Nucio? My question is, so I heard two things. I heard that we rarely have anything that goes over that, but then I also heard that there are things that we pay out that go over, right? Is that correct?
That's correct. And there's a blanket and super blanket. So super blanket are something you use like utilities. So gas, electric, sewer, water. Those are, you're going to get an electric bill every month and it's going to be around $110,000. So you're going to do a super blanket. We could do it for the whole year. Super blanket, we could do for $1.2 million for the year. And it's electricity every year. It's not something that's different. That's a super blanket. Now, blanket is something that's not routine, like going to Home Depot, you could buy different things all the time. So that falls under a blanket. Or if it's a repair shop, well, maybe they're fixing a cooler the one day, the next day they're fixing an air conditioner. They're not going to do the same thing. Super blanket is routine things come every single month.
I would like to make a recommendation. So at this time after, and thank you so much for the detailed response, and I appreciate you bringing that up to our attention. I would recommend lowering the purchase order to 500,000, and so just so that we are being fiscally responsible, and not saying that you're not being fiscally responsible with the $1 million blanket purchase order. However, we are facing a deficit, and I think that it would benefit us to lower that purchase order, hearing from Mr. Nucio that there are not many times we go over that, and so that we can get a better understanding of the money that is going out. So if there is more money needed than 500,000, we can discuss it, speak to it intelligently, when our taxpayers and community members have questions in regards to that. I just think that it will help us keep better abreast of the financial information that way.
Our setting the limit on blanket purchasers has nothing to do with fiscal responsibility. It is strictly, this is the limit you're allowed to do a blanket purchase order. It doesn't cut our expenses, it doesn't cut our budgets, it doesn't say there's wasteful spending. It's just a dollar amount, you can't go over this. Do not exceed this amount. It has nothing to do with fiscal responsibility.
I think just in having the information so that if you are spending, then if you need a larger blanket purchase order than 500,000, then as you mentioned, you would have to come back to us to increase that. So what I'm stating is that it will help us to become more fiscally aware, maybe is better, because then we know what amount of money is going out and why.
You get monthly reports every month that shows what goes out. I mean, changing that dollar amount doesn't improve fiscal responsibility or improve fiscal awareness. It's just a dollar amount. Do not exceed.
Do you have reasons to disagree to moving the blanket purchase order, from $1 million to 500,000?
Yes, I do, because this is a recommendation that came from my financial auditors. I think they're experts and they know, they've audited us for about 6 or 7 years now. I would go with their recommendation that it should be $1 million.
Is
Could
there
I-
any reason outside of that?
Other than they're experts, no.
Okay.
Mr.
I would
Nucio, Ms.
recommend-
Matagar, I'm sorry, I know you guys are at this end of the table. I believe Ms. Sebastian and Dr. Cruz want to speak as well.
Want me to go? So I just wanted to add that Mr. Nucio, I've worked with different treasurers, and he is very responsible in making the administrators submit contracts and purchase orders for approval when they exceed a certain dollar amount. So anytime we are making purchases that exceed around $10,000, you are getting them for approval. So that threshold is actually much lower for what he is requiring his signature and your approval on. So I understand the concern and wanting to have that awareness, and again, working with other treasurers, he's a stickler, so he makes sure that that those come for approval when they exceed a dollar amount, and
I don't disagree with
Yeah.
that. I would still recommend lowering the blanket purchase order from $1 million to 500,000.
yeah, it's not the same. It's just not the same auditing practice that we're looking at to be able to monitor the purchases. So we are submitting those for approval. That threshold for submitting to the board for approval is not defined in Ohio Revised Code, but typically boards go anywhere between, or treasurers suggest anywhere between 10 and 50,000 for that approval, depending on the budget.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
And I just, Mr. Nucio, I reached out to you and asked some questions about this. I was mistaken in belief that we had a lower amount at one time, but you corrected me and said that we never had an amount. Is that correct?
That is correct. The auditors recommended this about 3 or 4 years ago. We had nothing, and they said that it has to be there, and they recommended $1 million, and that's what it's been for the last 3 or 4 years, without any issues.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Kerpick, do you have anything before we move to a vote? Or Mr. Reyes?
No, I trust in what Sean is doing, and I trust in, again, the expertise of the auditors that he's working with. So I don't have a desire to change this or to remove it from the consent agenda.
One last question before we vote. I want to make sure I understand before we vote to lower an amount. Does that, what are the repercussions of doing that? Are there any?
No, there are no repercussions from doing it. It's just,
Okay.
it doesn't make sense to do it, is what I'm saying.
Okay. So we wouldn't have to come back if there was? I mean, I'm
If-
hearing you
if for
you
some
might
reason-
have to.
If for some reason I needed to do a blanket purchase over 500,000, say that's the number was given, I could not do it. It's just like when we have then and nows, if the then and nows are not approved, I can't pay the bill.
Okay, so to me, that's a repercussion of
Yeah.
not being able to.
I wouldn't be
okay.
able to do my job, pretty much.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Reyes, I know that you were the one that wanted to remove this item from the consent agenda. Did you have any other questions or comments before we move to a vote?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. So based on that, we will move to a vote, and we're voting if we're approving item 10 as it currently is, not exceeding the amount of $1 million. So roll call, please, Mr. Nucio.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Kerpick,
Yes.
Mrs. McTaggart,
No.
Mr. Reyes,
Yes.
Item number 11 has been removed from the consent agenda and will be taking up under new business. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Reyes, at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Early. So I just had one question. So this states, where was it? Okay, so Parma City School District Board of Education designates the superintendent to establish a policy committee for dialogue and input. The only question I have is this in addition to the board's policy committee?
that might be something Dr. Cruz would be better at answering.
So I know we have had conversations at the retreat when we talked about the difference between a superintendent's committee and a board committee. Is that the question you're asking, or is this something, so is that what you're asking? I just want to clarify.
So I know that the board has a policy committee, and then, so I'm just trying to see, is this in addition to the board's policy committee?
That is not my understanding. This would be a part of that policy. We do not have an additional policy committee. We have the one policy committee where we review the changes to policy, make recommendations to the board, and that includes 2 board members.
Okay, so I guess I'm just a little confused with the language that we're designating the superintendent to establish this committee when, if I understand policy correctly, it's.
Yeah,
Board.
so, sure, so it can be, my understanding is the way this is worded, it just allows us to have this committee, and then the designation to be a board committee versus a superintendent committee is the choice of the board. But this just allows, you know, as the superintendent, this allows for us to have conversations around the policy with the board.
So would this establish it as a superintendent committee as opposed to a board committee?
No, not necessarily.
Is there any reason, are we able to remove this sentence from the resolution?
Not at this.
Would there have any negative effects of that?
So when I think about this particular resolution, I think about how as the board is the governing body, and then you assign the superintendent to do the executive work of the district, and that to me is what that sentence is indicating, that the board has hired the superintendent to do this work, which really is very important, that policy work that the board maintains. And so this policy allows for us to function under the policies as they are established.
So I believe after this, we're going to do committee appointments, is that correct? One of those committees is policy, correct? So if we're doing the policy appointments today, I'm just trying to understand why we have language in here that designates a superintendent to do it. I guess that's my question, is if it's not in addition to the board's policy committee.
So, please.
I just have a couple questions here. I'm sorry, can I just halfway look at this? Okay. So I had a completely different understanding of what this policy was actually like adopting and doing. My understanding was that this policy was more about our policy manual than it was about the actual policy committee itself. So my question here is this a resolution that we adopt every year to reaffirm our policy manual at the beginning of every year? Sean, my questions towards you.
You are correct, Ms. Kerpick.
Okay, so this isn't necessarily about who's I guess, like running the policy committee, Dr. Hunt, Dr. Cruz, board members. This is more about the policy manual itself and adopting the policy manual as currently written. Am I correct in that?
You are correct.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding this right.
No, that's great.
So would there be any problem if we were to remove the sentence and still affirm the policy manual?
I would,
If this is not, if this committee is not in addition to the board committee? I guess that's my question.
I feel
we
that
are going
sounds
to,
reasonable, because it does state committee. And I apologize for interrupting, but I feel like that's reasonable. It's a reasonable request. And it's, so if the board members wanted to vote on that.
I just need clarification again. So the policy committee, are we talking about Neola? Or that's what I got from that.
so the way that the wording of this resolution, it allows us to adopt policies as they are, which we want to do that. And it allows us to have meetings around discussing policy. And having the superintendent be a part of those meetings as his role makes sense to me. I hear what you're saying, because I think we have had some conversation around board versus superintendent committee, but to me, that's not the point of this. We need to adopt our board policies. So I understand why you're asking about that particular line. I would defer to Mr. Nucio about the process of the board, because I think what we're doing is voting on this resolution as it is worded tonight. So we would want to vote. If you don't want this wording as it is, then that would be your option to vote no on this. And then we would, if it did not pass, then we would then create a new resolution with the wording that you would want. But I defer back on that one.
I just want to say that I am in support of adopting this policy as is. I mean, I've served on the policy committee for the past 2 years. This, I would say, essentially sums up what we do on policy. I don't feel like this is anything outside of what we are already doing and what has already worked. I don't see this changing any kind of roles or anything like that. So I would be in support of adopting this as written.
If I could just say too, I do hear your concerns about the way it's, as Dr. Cruz says, is the way it reads. However, the resolution is a resolution in a whole. So if you go down and you look at all the whereas, so it talks about the representation of the board and you know, it really goes into giving the power of the board in there. And then if you look at the title of the resolution, it's affirmation of policy manual. It's not even really about the policy committee.
Right.
So I just think in a whole, I understand where your concern is in the way it reads, but I think in a whole, the resolution is something that if you look at, it's, I would say I would be okay with that.
Mr. Nucio, my understanding, if we wanted to amend the words of the policy itself, that would happen in the policy committee, and then that would come back to the board for approval of an amendment.
I'm sorry, when you say amend the words of this resolution or amend the words of
I'm
what?
sorry, of this resolution. How do we go about if we wanted to amend the wording of it? I'm not saying that's what I want to do. I'm
I
just
guess
asking.
you would vote this down today and then bring it up at another meeting.
So as we get more comfortable, Mr. Reyes, through working through the language of these resolutions, as Ms. Sebastian pointed out, the whereas language is really to give some context to it. But as Ms. Kerpick pointed out, we are adopting the policy manual. And so the whereas part that was written there is not as important as the actual item that we are adopting, which is the policy manual. So we can work on language in that resolution. If it's voted no, we would create a new resolution at another meeting that would be able to change that language. So we create the resolutions that you will be approving for every meeting, and we can adjust that language to be more clear so that that's not there. I think it's a valid point that you brought up. I don't think it changes the outcome of what you're doing in voting on this particular item.
So it's just, when I read this sentence, it's very conflicting to the policy 0155, which is in our policy manual, which states, committees of board members shall, when specifically charged to do so by the board, conduct studies, make recommendations to the board, and act in advisory capacity. It goes on for a little while. I guess where I see the conflict is this sentence specifically says designates the superintendent to establish a policy committee. I like consistency personally. So when I see it, it conflicts with our policy. So I'm just curious, if we remove that sentence, we could still affirm the policy manual as written. We would just take away that designates the superintendent to establish a policy committee.
I agree with you, and next year, certainly, when this is a part of this consent agenda, I'm making a mental note that will not be worded the same way. But it still doesn't change the content. So the whereas, as we are going through all of these resolutions, the whereas language allows you to provide context around it. This is providing you the opportunity to work with the superintendent to have a policy committee. It is not, this resolution is not saying there is or isn't a specific committee or who's in charge of that. The important part is that last, therefore, be it resolved. The other items are not what you are approving in a resolution. You are approving the policy manual. So I appreciate that is not clear, but it is not conflicting because we aren't approving the way that whereas is written. We are approving the title, which is the policy manual. The whereas wording is to provide context to you, the board, about what you're actually approving. And I agree that it is not clear in the way it is written.
Are you okay if we move to a vote at this point to approve it as it currently is or as not? Is that okay if we move to a vote, Mr. Reyes? I'm sorry, I wasn't clear on that.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. Roll call, please, Mr. Nucio.
Dr. Early.
Yes.
Sorry. Mrs. Sebastian.
Yes.
Ms. Kerpick.
Yes.
Mrs. McTaggart.
Yes.
Mr. Reyes.
Yes.
All right, so thank you, Mr. Reyes, for bringing up those items. We moved through this discussion. So initially, before reading the 27 items, I had moved to adopt resolution 2026-01-07, approval of the 2026 organizational items under the consent action. So at this time, I would need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2026-01-07. Are there any questions, additional questions or comments from the board? Roll call, please, Mr. Nucio, on resolution 2026-01-07.
Dr. Early.
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian.
Yes.
Ms. Kerpick.
Yes.
Mrs. McTaggart.
Yes.
Mr. Reyes.
Yes.
Resolution 2026-01-07 has been approved. Board members, we need to select our 2026 board committee assignments based on previous conversations that we've had. The assignments are as follows. We will have the business committee, which will be Ms. McTaggart and Mrs. Sebastian. We will have the curriculum instruction committee, which will be myself and Mrs. Sebastian. We will have the finance committee, which will be Ms. McTaggart and Mr. Reyes. We will have the policies committee, which will be Ms. Kerpick and Mr. Reyes. And the board has decided to add a fifth committee, which will be the communications and community relations committee. A brief summary of the purpose of this additional committee that we are adding. The purpose of the communications and community relations committee is to improve communication between the district and the community, to increase transparency and public understanding of district decisions. In addition, we want to gather community input before major initiatives such as levies, redistricting, facilities, policy changes, and then strengthen partnerships with families, businesses, and civic organizations. This committee will be myself and Ms. Kerpick. Board members, are there any objections to the committee assignments?
No.
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 Ms. McTaggart, any objections?
None.
Thank you. All right, at this time, Mr. Nusio, I just want to confirm, we don't need to vote on this, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to finance. Ms. McTaggart.
Do we have any information to the board from from Dr. Cruz or from the superintendent?
We're going to do that after the finance.
That's after finance.
Sorry if there's a mix-up on the script. We're going to do the finance report, or share out first, then we're going to do the report from Dr. Cruz.
Okay. All right, I move to adopt Resolution 2026-01-08, adoption of tax budget for fiscal year 2027.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2026-01-08. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I have some comments. We haven't discussed this, the adoption of a tax budget in finance. So, I don't know what it is. I haven't seen it.
Okay, so the tax budget is required by the state, and it has to be approved by January 15th every year. And I think it's just an archaic section of the revised code that we have to do. What it is they're asking me what our next fiscal year, revenues, expenditures, and taxes we're going to receive are going to be. So they can use it for the certificate of estimated resources, which is just a budgetary thing that I have to do in my office. It's not saying this is what our revenues are going to be next year. We're not passing a budget. Those budget meetings are in April and May, or sometimes March, but usually April or May. It's not our appropriations for next year. It's not our budget for next year. It's just an archaic thing we have to pass every year by January 15th. They're saying, what's in your athletic fund, how much revenue you're going to get next year, and how much expenditures you're going to get next year. I don't know that. I just kind of look at last year as like, oh, we spend this much money and we get this money we get. To me, I think it's just a ridiculous thing to do, but it's something that's required by the state. It holds nothing. It doesn't say this is what we're going to get in revenue, and it's not where we're spending next year. It's not our budget. It's just a form something we have to do, and it's due every January 15th. And I don't spend much time on it because I don't think it has much value at all.
But we are voting on a tax budget that none of us have seen, correct? Has anyone seen the tax budget for 2027?
It
I
should
will
be
be doing a presentation, but to share
On the
information.
income tax levy, or?
no. This is the tax budget. That's not
Okay.
what Dr. Cruz is. This should have been attached as an upload, I believe, in the agenda. It's really not an important thing. I don't think it's important at all.
I appreciate that. However, I can't tell you whether it's important, not important, because I haven't seen it. So it is important that I have to be able to see something that it says a tax budget for 2027. None of us at this table has seen it. We don't know about it. We can't speak intelligently to it. And so I have to see it in order to.
It's
I just
attached
wanted
the
to,
agenda.
yeah, I just wanted to
Thank-
say, Mr. Nucio, I see it here and I saw it on the public content of
We
our
haven't
agenda when we received it.
Thank you. So you've seen it? Dr. Early?
Yes, it was attached.
Okay.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
okay. I apologize. I won't be, this is something that should be discussed in finance, being is that it should be coming out of Finance Committee, and we should have discussed this. So that's my comment. Is that?
Okay.
Are there any other comments or questions from the board?
Dr. Early?
Yes,
So,
Mr. Reyes.
so in your previous finance committee meetings, you have not seen this or
No.
talked about it?
No, we have not discussed it, not received it, and that's really, I mean, that's what the Finance Committee is for, is to discuss these things that are going to be on the agenda. And so we need to discuss these things and receive copies of it in the committee and be able to talk about it and complete the work that's needed in the committee before we're asked to vote on it. I have to be able to speak intelligently to it.
Mr. Nucio, is this something that this year in December it can be added to the agenda for the Finance Committee meeting to review?
Typically, I do this at the end of December, beginning of January.
Mhm.
That's usually when I do the tax budget, and that was after our Finance Committee meeting, so there was no Finance Committee meetings left to do it. And, I think I'd give the same speech the 13 years I've been treasurer, saying this is an unimportant thing.
Is
But, I
it something
mean,
this year we could add to just the December meeting? Would it be possible?
I could try to move it up. I can see if I can move it up. But as I said, I spend probably 30 minutes doing this.
Mr. Nucio,
Yes.
can I just clarify what you mean by unimportant?
Yeah.
Like, I need just a little bit more context with that.
So this, like I said, it's just something that the state requires you to give. What's your revenue by fund? And what are your expenditures by fund? Just a total. They don't want, there's no breakdown. And what is your beginning cash balance and what's your ending cash balance by every single fund that we have? That's all it is. And it's just an estimate because it's starting on July 1st of 26 through June 30th of 27. I have no idea what our grant funds are going to be, how much money we're going to get. We're not going to know all our federal grant funds until June. But they want me to tell you in January, by each grant fund, what are we going to get? I have no idea. I mean, I don't know why they make us do that. It's just a form that we have to do. And once we find out all these numbers close to June 30th, that's when the board approves a budget for next year. This is a tax budget for next year, but it's meaningless because in June we pass the actual budget that the board approves.
Okay, so we're just passing a resolution that is a required form. It's not really voting on the tax budget, is what you're
I
saying.
mean, it's just a procedural thing
Right.
that's required, and they use this, whatever I tell them is the estimated revenue, they use it for a form called the Certificate of Estimated Resources, which I have to update all the time. I probably updated it 15 to 20 times a year. So what's on certificate number 1 is really irrelevant because I'm going to change it when it comes to June 30th and we get actual numbers. So this is just a procedural thing that the state requires.
And I hear you on that, but I do agree with Ms. McTaggart and Dr. Early on maybe if we could add that to is it the December
We could.
meeting? Or
And-
maybe move it up?
And I could see the confusion too on Ms. McTaggart's part, because from my understanding, what you've shared is that typically you bring the resolutions to the meeting. So I think that's where the surprise is that for the Finance Committee, sometimes you bring the resolutions to the Finance Committee, from my
That is correct.
understanding. So I think maybe the way we can solve this problem is for this year, if possible, just we could have it at the December Finance Committee meeting.
There's not confusion, so I just want to be clear here, and it's not, so the information that's discussed in committee, it doesn't have to be yet attached to a resolution number.
Correct.
The Finance Committee and committees in general are to discuss what we vote on so that we can be intelligent on what we're voting on and be informed. And so it should have been presented, and so we shouldn't be voting on something that the Finance Committee members can't speak intelligently to. That's why we have committees, and that's why there are 2 board members on each, because you're charging us with the responsibility of knowing, understanding, and being able to speak intelligently to those things. And you may think that it's unimportant, and
I do.
that's fine. But I am elected by taxpayers to know and understand this. So I would only hope that you could appreciate that I want to fulfill my responsibilities in what I'm elected to do. And that should not frustrate you. And I'm sorry that does. But I have to have the information that I have to vote on, and that shouldn't frustrate anyone.
Okay.
Roll call, please. Mr. Nucio on
Dr.
resolution.
Early, I have one more question, please,
Sorry,
if
go
you
ahead.
don't mind.
No,
I'm
absolutely.
Sorry about that.
No, sorry, Mr. Reyes.
So I also haven't seen this either, and I'm curious. Can I make a suggestion? Is this the budget right here that's up on the screen? These attachments here.
No, that's not it. Melissa, could you pull that up?
So these individual attachments is this the actual tax budget that we're going to be voting on?
Correct.
Okay. So since it's here and you're here, would you feel more comfortable if Sean just explained it really quick to us before we voted?
Well, no, because he explained it. I think that it needs to be discussed in committee, because that's the process. And so I want to be able to understand it and not have a quick explanation of it's unimportant. I want to be able to understand it, and I think that it'll take more time than what we have today.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board?
Excuse me. Yes, I just wanted to make a comment.
Absolutely.
I'm prepared to vote in favor of this. I appreciate Sean taking the extra time now to explain this, but as it being in the content of the agenda that we received, I do feel comfortable, and I do feel, although I don't serve on the Finance Committee, I do feel comfortable that I've read enough and had enough understanding to vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Just one more comment. I just want to say that, and I'm sorry that we're going on, but I just want to say too, while I agree with Ms. McTaggart's sentiments on we need that information before we vote on it, I just want to be clear before that I vote. I feel like I do as well, but based on the information that Mr. Nucio shared tonight, on it being a required form, and that this is actually not the tax budget that's going to be approved. Is that correct, Mr. Nucio?
It's not the budget.
It's
tax
not the
budget's
budget,
Tax
exactly.
budget's something different.
So I just want to be clear that I do as well want the information. I think we've clarified that this is something that should come before committee, but I do feel prepared to vote on it.
When we do the agenda meetings on Monday prior to the board meeting, who records I know they're recorded. Who records the meeting and holds that recording?
It's on Google Meet, so it's through Google.
So is that something, because I'm thinking, I know that, like Ms. Kerpick said, like this was attached to the agenda that we received. We did receive the item, but typically, since the president and vice president are the two that attend the agenda meeting, would there be any reason that we cannot share that recording with the remaining board members on Monday after the meeting so that they have the recording of those conversations that we have in agenda meetings? Would we?
I would love that. Yeah, I know we had a conversation about that, and I think that would be great. Obviously, I know there's no conversation to be had between the five of us about what is said in that, but I think it would just be nice to see that at the time as the president and the vice president. I blanked on your title, Tammy. I'm sorry. And I also think that would be nice because I know there's been some talk of wanting to receive the agenda earlier and wanting to have more time with the agenda, which I have agreed with. It would be nice to have it earlier. I know Sean has explained a couple times how that would be difficult to get it any earlier. So I think this would be a nice thing to have in place of getting the agenda earlier. So I would appreciate that. That way, if I see any red flags or anything that really sticks out to me that I want to dive deeper into, I have about an extra 24 hours to do so.
Thank you. Mrs. Sebastian, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about shared leadership, and I think that would kind of move us forward in that regards, yeah.
Mr. Reyes, what are your thoughts on us sharing the recording of the agenda meeting with the full board on Monday to allow a little bit more time to see the content of what's coming?
I think as much time as we have is great
Okay.
for us as a group, so, yeah.
Thank you. Ms. McTaggart, what are your thoughts on us sharing that recording on Monday following the meeting?
something that I've asked for, and I really appreciate that. And to that, I also believe that the committee meetings should be recorded. So they're an open meeting. I believe that they should be properly noticed and also recorded.
So
I
for
think that would
sake,
be helpful.
yeah, for sake of time and getting back to the agenda item, I do think, Ms. McTaggart, can we plan to discuss that further at the next meeting? Maybe some of the logistics surrounding what that could look like as a group?
I would appreciate that.
Sure. All right, so if we have no further questions or comments from the board on Resolution 2026-01-08, roll call, please, Mr. Nucio.
Mrs. McTaggart?
One more comment. Again, being on the Finance Committee, I do believe it is important that we support one another, and I feel very strongly about voting on something that none of us can speak intelligently to, not one of us at this table. And this is what we were elected to do. We are elected to know and understand the information. And so you all are here and saying, I cannot speak intelligently to it unless you can present what was just up there. Can any of you do that? And I'm not doing this to call you out.
Oh, call me
but-
out, because I was just getting ready to respond to that. So I do believe I can speak intelligently to it, because Mr. Nucio just said that this is just a required form, that we are not, this is not the budget. So that, to me, is the information that I need. So
I
that-
appreciate that from
Yeah.
you, and maybe that's the information that you need. Are you on Finance Committee?
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, and the reason I'm asking you
Yeah.
that is that I think in getting to know one another, you guys know that, hey, trust but verify. I don't work off of, I need the data. Okay, I cannot, Sean, I want to take your word for it. However, that's not what the people elected me to do. They did not elect me to take your word for it. They elected me to get the data, to look at the objective information. So while I appreciate that very much, and I appreciate your explanation, what I'm hoping in return is that then you appreciate my need for objective data. I have to be able to understand it and speak intelligently to it. I take what I do very seriously, and again, the taxpayers have elected us to do that. And so we're talking about transparency. We've talked about it. It's a concern, okay? That's what you want to pass a levy or an income tax levy, millage levy, whatever it is. Well, we need to do better about knowing and presenting the information that we're discussing in committees and that we're voting on. So while I understand you said that it's not important, it's important enough that an elected official has to vote on it. That's important. So
Ms. McTaggart, and I would just say the rest of the board, is there, and Mr. Nucio, would there be any
harm.
reason why that we couldn't wait to give more time?
It's a
to-
board's decision.
No,
And
I understand it's our decision. I'm just saying, I also want to hear whether or not we could have more time with that. What would be, again, my question is, would that put us, do you have a deadline for this?
Yes, I do. The state sets the deadline as January 15th.
you should have been prepared with that information in the finance committee prior to, and and unfortunately you weren't. And that, I mean, that's,
So one more question, after saying that there's a deadline, and I hear you, Ms. McTaggart, but I'm also concerned about where that puts students and the district if he doesn't make that deadline. So what happens if you don't make that deadline, Mr. News?
I'm not sure. It's never come up. In 13 years I've been a treasurer.
that's because we don't make decisions here. Through my experience in the last 2 years of sitting on this board, we don't make decisions because I have to fight for simple information such as this. It shouldn't be hard to get information. We don't make decisions. And if any of you sitting in the audience don't feel that that's alarming, It is very alarming because you elect us to take your tax dollars and ensure that they're spent properly and that they're kept as best as possible within the classroom, right? And it goes towards students and student achievement and safety. And so, I mean, it's fighting for information constantly. I shouldn't have to do that. I'm hoping for a change. Information is simple. This is what we were elected to do. We need to have the information. That's what committees are for, is to discuss and work through that information.
What is your proposal, Ms. McTaggart? Like, how would you want to move forward?
So my proposal would be, Sean, please, moving forward, have the information in the committees that before the meeting. Have that information, and now I'll make time. I'm on active duty until February 6th. I'll get permission, I'll make time whenever I can to come to you to discuss the information, ask the questions so that I can speak intelligently to it and so that I can understand it. And then we have a meeting prior to January 15th. And you know what? I apologize that I'm not putting you in this situation. Okay, so you guys, I will accept the way that you want to vote and move forward and still be happy to work together. However, I'm asking you, and I'm hoping that we can change this, that what's happened in the past, and that we turn a new leaf. We vote in good conscience, provided the data that we need in order to vote informatively, and not have to fight for simple information.
I think this is our first meeting. I think we are taking steps towards that. I hope you believe that. I think we are talking about putting things in place. We have a lot of work to do. So I hope you also give us grace in that.
100%.
Okay.
And Sean, I mean, the reason we're here is because it wasn't discussed in Finance Committee. That's why we're at this conversation now. And I'm sorry, that's not meant to be offensive in any way. Let's do the work in committees like we were elected to do.
I don't think we disagree with that.
Mr. Nucio, do you have a response before we vote?
Nope.
Okay. Roll call, please, Mr. Nucio, on Resolution 2026-01-08.
Mrs. McTaggart,
No.
Mr. Reyes,
No.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Ms. Kerpick,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian.
Yes.
Resolution 2026-01-08 has been approved. At this time, we are going to turn it over to Dr. Cruz, who has a presentation to share with the board.
Thank you. Board members, would you prefer for me to head over to the podium or speak from here? I am happy to do either.
Whatever you're most comfortable with.
You're fine,
Yeah.
wherever you want to be.
Well, I'll stay here. Great, thank you. Oh, I do need the clicker. Can I go grab it? Okay.
Now you have to get up.
Is there enough time for a few moments for a bathroom break? If you don't mind. Yeah.
Don't we have to motion for a recess? If we take a 5-minute recess for a restroom break, we have to motion, correct?
I believe so.
Right. I'd like to motion to take a recess, and we will resume at 7:57 p.m.
But don't leave. My presentation.
Second.
Mr. Nucio, roll call, please, on a brief recess.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
There goes the audio.
Yes.
Mrs. McTaggart,
Yes.
Ms. Kerpick,
Yes.
Mr. Reyes.
Yes.
We will resume at 7:57.
Been and collaboratively working through this presentation, obviously with tremendous support and input and collaboration with Mr. Nucio. So tonight, just three things. So I'll be efficient for you. But tonight we're going to review our levy history, and I'm going to share a proposal to protect our district finances. And within that proposal, we will talk about three items: property tax relief, school district income tax, and cost-saving measures. And then finally, we'll consider next steps and have a discussion. So, levy history. This slide shows, it's broken down into increments of a couple years at a time. So going way back to 2013, the last time that the district has passed an operating levy for new money was in 2011. So looking here at 2013 and through 2015, we failed a new operating levy, but we did pass a renewal levy in 2014. The renewal levies are indicated by, when a levy passes, when the voters approve the levy, it is green, and then when it's failed, it is a little red dot, and during that time, if it's not on the ballot, it's a little clear white dot. So, looking here, you can see just by looking at the colors that the new operating levies have failed since 2013, but the renewal levies in green have passed. I just jumped ahead to 2019 to 2021, and then up to this current school year, 2022 to 2025. So again, the same pattern of green and red and white, the green being passing, the renewal levies are the ones that have passed, and we have not passed all of our operating levies for asking voters for new money to increase their property taxes. Those have all failed. Additionally, since 2019, we have had bond issues. Bond issues are different than operating or renewal levies because bonds are specific to building a building. So, and those also failed 2020, 2021, 22, and 23. So that is a brief history that we have of our levies. So again, seeing that those renewals were the only ones that have passed, but that did not give the district any new money, and anytime we've asked for new money, that has failed. So the voters were very clear at the ballot box, and they do not support a property tax increase. So we hear that message, and so we are considering a new approach. Voters have not approved any new money in property taxes, and so we are looking at something different. So we are looking at, first we're going to start off talking about how we are looking to provide our residents, our property owners, with some property tax relief. We have 3 renewal levies that are currently collecting money annually for our district. We have one for $15.7 million that will not expire until 2034. So meaning every year property taxes are being paid to the district. We annually receive $15.7 million, and we would keep continuing to get that money until 2034. Same thing on the next renewal levy, which was $15.6 million. We will get that annually until 2031, and then a lesser amount, $9.2 million levy that will expire in 2030. So overall, we have $40.5 million that is generated through property taxes from those renewals. But we have the board has the authority to recommend that we can not collect on those levies before they actually expire. So we can move up that expiration date and not collect on that money. So looking at it in a little bit of a different way, same information but aligned here in a chart. We have the current renewal levy on the left, where you can see those 3 levies that we just talked about and those expiration dates. The proposal that we are presenting tonight, with this passage of this school district income tax in May of 2026, we would stop collecting on those. We would collect 0, no money, starting in 2027 for that first one, the biggest one, and then having those phased out in 2028 for those remaining 2. So property tax relief for folks who own property in our 3 communities. They would not be paying that property tax. It would be a relief for them. And that's it. No, I'm kidding. There's more. There is more. So how do we generate revenue? So if we're not asking for money in the form of property tax, we are, again, looking at something different. We proposed a phased adjustment to our revenue portfolio by not collecting 3 renewal levies, and this is paired with the adoption of a 1.75 school district earned income tax. So let's talk about that. The school district income tax. So we like to start with the why. Why would we consider this? So when we think about the levy history, those concerns, the community has clearly spoken about not wanting an increase in their property taxes. They voted and they communicated clearly at the ballot. Considering our district's demographics, we identified an earned income tax as a fair and balanced option for our communities. This approach also reflects some recent changes in legislation that would not allow us to go above a certain level in our renewal taxes, in our renewal levies, excuse me. So this is in line with recent changes in Ohio law. So that's the why. We think it's, we know that our community has said no just a few times, and so we're looking at something different. So let's dive into the what. What is this school district income tax? It is separate from federal, state, and city income tax. It applies only to the residents of the school district, and it is used exclusively to fund schools. This applies to wages and salaries and qualifying net self-employment income. So that does not apply. So what types of income are not considered earned and therefore will not be taxed? Social security benefits, retirement and pensions, interest, dividends, capital gains, unemployment, workers' compensation, lottery winnings, profit from rental activities, alimony, disability, child support, welfare, trust distributions, and all other income that is not earned income. So when we talked about the why again, when we think about our communities, we do have many residents of our school district who are on a fixed income, receiving a retirement and a pension, and are also property tax owners. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that particular demographic is one that would not be paying a school district earned income tax, and they would also be getting relief on their property taxes. So what's this going to cost? Obviously, it's based on each individual's income. And so you take the amount of money that you make, your earned income, and you multiply that by 0.0175, and that's how much would contribute towards the school district income tax. So for every, as an example, for every $10,000 that you would earn in your annual income, $175 of that would go towards the tax. So again, who pays this? Just the residents who reside in our school district and who have earned income tax. This does not apply to people who don't live in the district, but they work here. So this is only for folks who are residents in the district. If I'm a homeowner, put our own question in the slides. If I'm a homeowner in the Parma City School District but do not have any earned income, how would the passage of this SDIT, the school district tax income, how would this affect me? Well, you will have a reduction in your property taxes because you're a homeowner, and you would not pay the school district income tax because you don't have any earned income. Who collects this? The Ohio Department of Taxation collects the school district income tax. The tax forms are filed through that department, and they're due to the state, and then we would get the distributions directly from the state. How does this work? It's collected in the same way that the state income tax, through employer withholdings and annual returns. When you fill out your tax returns, you always enter the school district number in there, and that's how it is part of that generation of understanding how that tax is then collected. And then employers will be required to withhold that tax and submit the payments to the state under the same rules and guidelines as they currently use to withhold the state income tax. What will we use that money for? Essentially our day-to-day operational costs. So facilities, instructional materials, maintenance, transportation, busing, all the instructional costs, our operations. So I mentioned, so we talked about a three-pronged approach to this proposal. First was the property tax relief. The second was the school district income tax. And now finally our cost-saving measures. So we have planned areas for cost-saving measures over the next several years. A continual review of current budgets and expenditures. At our senior leadership team, we look at our BUD sum reports. We look at what has been encumbered and unencumbered. We look at all the budget items, looking at where dollars are being spent. It's quite a process in the treasurer's office, but we have our district leadership as well as our building leadership evaluating budgets and expenditures through that process. So we will continue to dive into those and look at ways that we can continue to trim and cut and do things that are much more efficient so that we can save money, looking at how our budget and our expenditures. Secondly, we will review all staffing. We will look at all positions, all classifications, and we will take into consideration attrition, which is when folks retire or they resign, we potentially would not fill that position. So that staffing reduction can happen more organically or naturally through attrition. And finally, we will evaluate the viability of all of our programs and services and instructional resources. So this is a very broad list of things that we are doing. There are many layers to each of these, but we wanted to just provide an overview of the cost-saving measures that we plan to enact in the next few years. So the timeline for this is in January, the board would need to take action by approving 2 resolutions. One is a resolution of necessity, and the other is a resolution to proceed. And then with the approval of that resolution, the board would then submit Mr. Nucio, the treasurer, would then submit the resolutions to the Board of Elections. We would propose 2 resolutions. The first would be the resolution of necessity, so indicating the need to have a levy for operating expenses. And then the second would be a resolution to proceed with the approval of submitting this to the Board of Elections.
And so when there's involvement with the board members, correct, in, collaboration, because we keep talking about collaboration. So at what moment, at what time are the board members going to be involved and be able to collaborate with the senior leadership team on where those cuts are happening?
For the cost savings?
Yes, ma'am.
When that would happen, we could certainly have conversation during a work session. We could have conversations during each of the committees about ways that we are looking at. So, for example, looking at instructional resources, and we are looking to streamline some of our looking to streamline some of our purchases of technology. So some of the ways that we utilize technology and looking at that, that would come up through the curriculum committee where we would be able to talk about that.
And so, so through curriculum, but we would also be discussing this in other committees as well, depending on where those cuts are, because, what I'm concerned with, I
Sure.
guess, is that, so we're going over all of these things, and we're talking about January board actions. We're in January, so none of us are aware of detailed plans of any of this. So I think that we're kind of behind already. You don't have our input. We don't know what options are available. And so I guess my question is, when you plan in January sometime, I'm assuming it's going to be the next board meeting to present us the cost savings plan. It's already put together.
So, can you go back? Yeah. So this is what the work that is cut out for us over the next several years. So we did not want to come up and say, we are hoping to get this money and we're moving on. We are doing our part in being fiscally responsible and looking at all of these areas that we are going to investigate. And these are
What areas are they?
the budgets and expenditures. So we will look at when we, in the springtime, is when we start to really investigate and allocate our general fund in purchases for the following year. So we look at for every item, every account in every area, in every department or every building, we look at the amount that was expended the previous year to then have some understanding of what we need for the following year. So if we are, if we know that we have spent $10,000 in this particular area every year for the last 10 years, we would probably then allocate $10,000 for that particular account. But if we notice that we've been allocating our general fund dollars, use the same number, we've been allocating $10,000 in a particular account, and we haven't been spending that amount, then we really want to investigate what is being allocated and what are we doing with that account. So then we would dive into that one more carefully. We would also look at ones that are just the higher.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but so you're talking about moving money, correct? Or
So the
allocation of funds.
So the allocation of funds is then what drives the amount that a particular department or budget has to spend the following year. So every year, the general fund money has to be allocated into all of the different funds that are available.
Thank you for that. What about the cost savings plan? So how does that, so when we're talking about cost savings plan, I'm going to go back to, there were programs and things, you said dive into those, cut and trim. And so I guess, again, thank you for that explanation, but I'm concerned with where the cost savings is.
So when we, as a team, so one example, going back to number one about the budget and expenditures. So there are times when certain folks are making decisions around their budget when we might want to have more accountability. And so that's a cost-saving measure, an approach that we are taking. We are having more conversation at the senior leadership level regarding every fund that is available to us in the general fund. So when we are looking at how much money is going to particular departments and particular buildings in particular areas, we are going to be investigating the need there, not just giving them the same amount that they've always had. So we're approaching this from a needs-based lens, not I've always gotten received $10,000 in this fund, so I need it again. So we will be holding that department chair, that department head or administrator, whatever, depending on the fund, we will be holding them accountable to defend the need behind it, not just because it's always been there.
Outside
Can I hop in,
the,
Ms. McTaggart, to add in an example? So I can speak, when I was an administrator in the district, those conversations do happen and they're very tough. And that was years ago, but for example, like, I would have to sit down and justify, like, we paced at the elementary buildings when I was here, we paid staff during arrival and dismissal. So I had to sit down with senior leadership and justify the amount of hours I needed and why for payment. And then sometimes that conversation was, hey, you're going to be getting this much less this year because we need to save money. And then there was a collaborative approach to that. And then in the spring, each administrator would sit down with Mr. Nucio and we would go through the entire building's budget and talk through. And they'd ask input from me, hey, as an administrator, what do you need, what do you don't need? But there was, in those conversations, this would be now 3 years ago, the constant, I guess, foundation of it was, where can we make cuts that don't impact the educational experience of students or student safety?
and that's good.
Yeah.
However, still with a 1.75 income tax levy, if that's passed, we're talking, we still need to cut far more money than what you're talking about on that level. So that's what I'm concerned, that's the information that I'm looking for.
I need clarity, if you
Sure.
don't mind, because I keep hearing cuts. I see costs and cuts. To me, those are two different words. So cost savings, cuts, to me, are different. So I need clarity, and I guess, and maybe the confusion even with me is that this was, to me, those three items are things that we are always doing, correct? We're always reviewing current budgets and expenditures. We're always reviewing, we should be, right? That's what we should be doing. I think the confusion is that it's attached to this, and it gives off the illusion that this is, we are making cuts with voting for this income tax. And correct me if I'm wrong. Is that what is that what you're saying, Ms. McTaggart? Is that what you feel as well, is what I'm saying?
Well, so, Sean, if we pass the 1.75% income tax levy, where does that leave us financially as far as the deficit?
Yeah.
So along with passing the 1.75 percent school district income tax, along with the cuts we're talking about, we should be positive through fiscal year 2031.
Can I add in,
What
what cuts are we
cuts?
talking about, though? I think that's what we're, if we pass the income tax levy, what is the deficit still? Like, are we saying we need to make $500,000 worth of, like, what, I think that's what we're asking, like, what is that amount that we still need to trim, per se? Right, Ms. McTaggart and Ms. Sebastian,
Well,
is that what you're
we
asking?
had this certainly have had this conversation, and one of the pieces that we talked about is it's a little bit difficult to narrow that down to a specific dollar amount, but it is significant that we need to do, and what we need to look towards. And one of the reasons why that is difficult to obtain is because the earned income tax dollar amount is going to grow over the years. And so to make a projection of 5 years for what that earned income tax is going to give us back is a little bit challenging. But we know that this would not be possible without us really taking a hard look at our general fund and bringing those dollars down. When we look at, Dr. Early, you mentioned the budget process. So yes, these are things that have been done and should be done, but we are taking a different approach. So to use the example that you gave, the principals will not be alone when they are meeting with the treasurer's office. There will be people from senior leadership. So when we're looking at curriculum expenses at the elementary level, or we're looking at instructional purchases or staffing, we will have a broader lens in looking at it across the district. So whereas we've had conversations about this, and Mr. Nucio says, well, I know this is an approvable offense. I'm not here to judge need or not need. And so, but I can judge need or not need based on the instructional side of things. And so the pushback and the just really that accountability of what is being asked in every allocation is going to feel different. And we've started these conversations already with our leaders about looking at the budget differently. And it's a different approach of like you have X amount of, so in the past it was more of a you have X amount of dollars. And we are not, we are doing a zero or a needs-based approach where you can count on zero and now tell us what you need. So it's a mindset shift, and it's going to be a big undertaking, but we know that when you give somebody money to spend, you're going to spend that up to that amount. You're going to find the need to spend that money. So having zero allocation and then having to climb your way up to what you need and defend every part of that presents a different level of accountability for all of us in the district.
Is there, I have a question of, so the numbers, again, like the exact amount after, if the 1.75 income tax levy does pass. I know we discussed previously, Sean, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have my notes in front of me from the finance committee that was, I don't know, a month ago maybe, but it was something like couple million the first year, 5 million the second year.
Absolutely.
8 million the third year.
You're right. There are millions of dollars that we need to do in our cost savings, millions of dollars, in order for us to be able to be operational.
So that's much greater than allocation of funds and decreasing budgets based on needs. So I guess
that's the first part there, and that is that approach. We are confident that by having much more of a microscope across the district, that we are going to uncover places that have had money allocated in the past that can come back to the general fund. So we are pretty confident that we'll pull back some money. So
my
and
concern
then,
is also, because we're talking about, I guess, the difference between cut and cost saving. So now it makes sense. The cuts, the 2 million, 5 million, 8 million, that's cuts. But she's talking about cost savings and kind of managing budgets, which is very different. And I
So
think
if you-
that,
Oh, sorry.
so,
Number two there, actually, so we didn't use the term cuts. It's not written on there, but really, saving money or cutting things or budgeting things differently, it's all getting us to the same end of allowing us to operate. So number two, if we look at staffing, when we are evaluating and reviewing all of those positions, this is where we need to look at enrollment. We have attrition, the retirement piece. We know already that we have over 20 staff members, certified staff members, who have already indicated their retirement. So that right there will already start the process because they're typically higher paid employees because they've been in the district for so long. So we've already had some potential dollars around that just through revisiting those positions. So certainly that type of staffing and looking at enrollment numbers in every area, looking at where we have a greater need, that's a
I have
part of
another
that.
question regarding a postcard that went out during the levy campaign the last time. And on the postcard, did you guys see that postcard? I can't remember exactly what it read, but it was greater class sizes, cutting teachers, basically was kind of, and so I would like to really be involved in the planning, which, because I don't believe in cutting teachers, I believe in cutting elsewhere. And so that postcard would, and not having the details here or the actual plan that leads up to the 2 million, 5 million, and 8 million. It's important for us to be able to look at that information, ask questions, and also give input.
Sure.
I know a couple of us has talked about really, not teachers, I'll tell you that, because, and not pay to play. I know that I spoke with Sean, when I was initially elected in my first year, and the amount of revenue that pay to play brought in, it didn't make sense to even have to do it. And so I think that it's really important that we're involved, because we have to make the decision. And what I don't want is one plan put in front of us and not even the full plan. It's, here's the decision that we came to, and just trust, and, excuse me, but trust that the senior leadership is doing the right thing. And then we have to vote and say yes or no. We don't have options.
And I was going to say, it sounds like to me that there is, so it says over the next several years. Again, I don't want to get caught up in the wording of, and I understand you saying that there are, there's cuts with the cost savings. However, I keep seeing review, evaluate. So I would think that there would be this steps, right? We're reviewing, we're looking. So is there a way that senior leadership could put together a plan? I know it can't be detailed to what, because you guys are looking, but there's stopping points. So you're going to review and then report back to the board. And that, like, so could we develop a plan, or could senior leadership develop a plan like that for us?
Yeah, so the timing of this, we're moving into budgeting season, we're moving into staffing season. So all of these things just organically are starting to happen. And then the approach that we're taking is just certainly much more on a fiscal emergency lens. And so that's where I know it would feel better. Well, I don't know that. I assume, based on some of the feedback, that it would feel better for us to present some specific numbers right now attached to some specific cuts. Quite frankly, we're not there in the timing of all of this, and to threaten or to imply that we will do some of the things that maybe have been on previous postcards, that hasn't been determined. Those have not been determined.
I hope not. And I hate to see the levy campaigns. I mean, I feel like it's put on the backs of the teachers always, and you guys know that I'm just very forward. So they seem more like scare tactics. And these teachers are working hard in the classroom, and then they're going out and they're campaigning for a levy that gets shot down, and they're told and they're scared, and there are these postcards that go out that say, well, if you don't campaign so hard for this levy, you're going to lose your job. And I would think, I hope that with the income tax levy, if that's what the board chooses to do, and that we campaign in a different way, and we don't threaten or scare or put postcards out there like that teachers are going to lose their jobs. I don't think that's funny, but at all. And also the program. So for me to vote on something like this, it would be really important to see the plan, because if you're coming up with specific dollar amounts, $2 million the first year, $5 million the second year, and $8 million the third year, there's a detailed plan somewhere.
Sure.
And so
there's not, though. There's not a detailed plan. We have estimated some amounts, as Mr. Nucio said, that we need to get to.
Can we please see those estimations and how you got there to the $2 million, $5 million, and $8 million, and what the plan is for that? Because if we're talking about planning, passing a resolution in January, that's the next meeting, correct?
We would pass the first resolution at the next meeting, but there is not a plan to make these cuts at the next meeting. Staffing doesn't start until March or April, and budget season's April, May, so there's not going to be a plan before the
This
votes-
is our
the votes.
commitment to
This
you.
is, yeah, this commitment that is separate from the school district income tax levy date requirements that the county has.
I would like to see one put together, and I can't speak for every board member, but we should be involved in the process of going through each department and coming up with that plan. I would not feel comfortable, again, voting on something so significant that would impact the lives of others and jobs and the students, you're putting that in front of us in January and voting on it and not having a plan, that doesn't seem like we're
So our plan, we do have the plan, which would be to find ways to increase our revenue. And that's what this is. So, but the plan right now is to help understand that we are looking for a new approach on the revenue side. And when we think about the financial picture as a whole in the district, we cannot just rely on the increase in revenue. We also have to look at our expenditures. But right now, our
I would
focus
like to look
is
at that with you, and I think the other board members would also like to look at that as well, so that we can truly collaborate and be that team of 7 that
Right.
is always talked about.
Yep.
And so that we can be prepared and know that when we vote on this resolution, we know what the plan is.
Can I
And
hop in
so at
here?
that-
I want to hop in here. I want to ask a couple specific questions, but I do want to add something. And Ms. McTaggart, I mean this respectfully, what I'm about to say. I do think we have to be careful. I was a teacher. I love teachers. They're awesome. I was a teacher, but I think we cannot just say only teachers are doing the work.
I didn't
don't-
mean
I
that
don't-
only teachers are doing the work. I think that putting that postcard out
Yep.
there, and then the teachers, I know they're campaigning very hard and working to pass these levies, and some of them are in fear of losing their jobs if the levy doesn't pass.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, but it's beyond, it's also, I think there's a lot of other individuals along with teachers that are also doing the work.
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
So I think
please
I-
don't assume that
No.
when I say the teachers, what I'm concerned with right now are the teachers, because we're talking about staffing, and that postcard was geared towards teachers
But
when
I-
we're talking about classroom sizes.
I'm not assuming. I think one thing earlier you shared was an appreciation and recognition of my connection with previous employment in the district.
Absolutely.
And I just want to advocate that all staff is bolded there to include everyone beyond. It's not just staff, it's administrators, it's noon monitors, it is custodians, it's everyone. So I think some of that fear that naturally comes with some of this that I know people have experienced, I agree with you. It's more than just the teaching staff. So I just want to
agree with that.
recognize the work of
No,
all
I
the
agree
staff.
with that. So
Thank you.
that,
I think we're thinking.
again, the
Yeah.
postcard, and that's why I'm talking teachers.
I do have a specific question for, on the slide that it says that those do not live in the district, but work in Parma Heights, Seven Hills are not a part of this. Is that a possibility to accrue more income, or no, that's not an option?
No, you can, it's outlined on the Ohio Department of Taxation website, where you can see, this is not, the school district income tax is not something specific that we are just doing. This is, we have to follow the guidelines that are outlined on that website.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have 2 other questions, and I think part of our responsibility as a board is when we have communities or families reach out to us to questions that in our meetings we can convey those questions. So one question I have received from someone within the community is, have we considered a hybrid approach, meaning a dual, like a property tax and an income tax at lower amounts? Yes or no, and then I guess the explanation behind.
So I would say the answer to that would be no, because as Dr. Cruz had shown those couple slides, we see how many times that the new money levies failed. Only the levies that passed were existing renewal emergency levies. So we've tried the approach like, let's go get more new property taxes, and it fails every time. So I think if you're doing the same plan every single time and getting the same results, it would be a waste of time to try to put it up again. So we are pivoting and coming up with a new plan that does not include putting new property tax levy up, because our voters, our community members told us they don't want that. So we're not even considering putting up a property tax levy.
Okay, and this next question may then be redundant, but it was a question that I was asked and would like to pass along. Have we considered keeping the current, instead of removing those property taxes, have we considered keeping them and adding an income tax? to accrue more money.
So you're saying instead of eliminating
Correct.
the 3 emergency levies, just put up a school district tax
Yes.
instead?
Yes, in addition, or even in addition to.
I think with what's going on in the state level and what we've heard from the community is they want property tax relief. So this is our plan to give them property tax relief. So eliminating all 3 of these levies, once they're all eliminated, on a $100,000 house, it would save the homeowner $500 a year. Of course, if you have a $200,000 house, you're saving $1,000. So we were looking at, this is what's going around the state is property tax relief. So we modeled our plan on property tax relief and what our community members have told us.
Thank you. And I believe, Ms. Sebastian, you had some questions. I see you waving, I know you're waving behind me.
I have burning questions. So, and I'd like to get some more information too, if possible, and it doesn't have to be exact numbers, or you might even have them. Do we have an estimate of the savings on not collecting on those 3 renewals?
47,
Yeah, 40.
Oh, I mean,
40.5
I'm
million.
sorry, more of a breakdown per,
Yeah,
I understand homeowners, but I know that would differ, but I'm saying like more of a breakdown than just the 40.5. Do we have?
Like per
a-
household?
Yeah,
It's
maybe.
like
yeah.
$400 per, we just,
With
So
the,
I just said
with
it
the
would-
3, the removal, I want to be clear. Of the
Yeah, it would be
3.
$500, approximately $500 on a $100,000 house.
Okay. Savings, cost savings,
Yes,
correct?
because
Okay.
those
To the
levies would
taxpayer.
not be assessed any longer.
or homeowners.
Okay, good, thank you. And then also, there was my question about, obviously, 3 cities have their own income tax that they collect on. And so was there, I don't know if there consensus or, how did the mayors of the 3 communities feel about what that could do possibly, with the communities?
sure. So we,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to say that I wasn't in these meetings, but Dr. Hunt met with all 3 mayors, and they seem to be okay with the plan. They kind of understand that property taxes are not the way to go, and this is a new plan. I don't know if they were jumping up and down about it, but I think they kind of understand our situation and the limited revenue sources we have. So would you like to expand on that?
Sure, I was a part of some of those, and certainly the respect of needing revenue in the situation that we're in with funding being less from the state and federal government, that we need to continue to ask folks in our district to support us as a public school. And they respected that, and they certainly respected us trying a different approach. That was, the history there of not getting new money. And there was also some appreciation for the looking at all of our residents, not just folks who own property in our 3 communities. So it allows for everyone to chip in to the funding of our schools.
Renters and
Yeah.
someone that would rent.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and then I have, there was one more question I had about, I'm sorry, I had some notes back here. No, maybe I didn't. I think that was it. Thank you.
I'm going to turn it, I think Mr. Reyes also has some questions.
Thank you for sharing this information. I think it's good to hear something different for once. So, do we have any projections on how much this will generate for the district?
We do. So the 1.75% school district income tax would generate in the first year approximately $47.8 million, I believe it is. And we're giving up after the second year $40 million, so we're coming out ahead. The first year we were keeping one of the 3 levies, so we are still get property tax that first year. The reason why we didn't get rid of all 3 in the first year is people don't know about the school district income tax, and so collection for the first year is like 5%. That's because employers don't know this, people don't know about this because not everybody votes or reads the paper about this. So the next year, it's like 75%. That's why we're dropping them off in year 2. And then year 3 is full collection. Actually, year 3 is 110% collection because people that owed in the past are now learning about it. And so we actually are full collection in year 3. But it's going to get 47.8 million the first year.
Okay. And I guess, what protection do we have against increasing unemployment?
I don't understand what your question
So
is.
if say unemployment went up 1%, how would we, what protections do we have to make sure that our revenue doesn't decrease with it?
Well, our only source, our biggest sources of revenue are state funding, which has been cut, decreased. The state legislator's been cutting it for the whole year, pretty much. We could, if we pass this, then we have a school district income tax, or we have property taxes. We don't have any other sources of revenue, major sources of revenue that we get. So if unemployment goes up, I mean, this is just what our revenue is. There's nothing we could do to generate, there's not another path to generate additional revenue.
So we have any protection against that? There's no way for us to hedge ourselves against that because it's a very good possibility that could happen.
Yeah, I mean, unemployment, we can't control what the unemployment rate is. It just goes up or down, and there's really nothing we could do. We could try to plan ahead with our expenditures and cutting, as Dr. Cruz just talked about, but there is no guarantee ever.
Okay. So this first year, this 47.8 would we be, how much in the plus would we be out of that 47.8?
So, as I mentioned, the school district income tax, the 47.8, we'd only get 5% the first year.
Okay.
So we're not getting $47 million the first year. We're getting 47 million times 5% because of the collection. People don't know about it. Employers are not withholding. People aren't going to start paying it until they do their taxes the next year. So we're not getting $47.8 million. That's why we have only one of the 3 levies being wiped off for the first year and the other 2 are the next year.
Okay. And then Dr. Cruz, you had mentioned about moving up the money and not collecting it. Could you explain that a little bit more for me?
Can you
For
clarify the question?
For the 3 levies, you had mentioned that we could move up the money and not collect.
We would move up the expiration date. So right now, the voters passed 3 different renewal levies that allow us to continue to collect money from their property taxes. Those 3 different levies expire in 2034, 31, and 30. And so instead of continuing every year to collect that money from our property owners, we are essentially changing the expiration date to 2027, 2028, 2028. So meaning we are going to stop collecting property taxes from those homeowners.
Okay, thank you. That really clarifies it. And so would there be a massive deficit from when we start collecting the full amount?
No, because we're still collecting 2 of the 3 levies in the first year. If we were collecting none of the 3 levies in the first year and just had 5% collection, we'd be in fiscal emergency.
Okay.
That's why we are staggering the levies falling off.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. McTaggart, do you have any additional questions or comments?
Yes, ma'am, I do. And I'm sorry, I'm full of questions, and I appreciate you taking the time to answer them. What is our plan if the 1.75 income tax levy does not pass?
That plan would not be pretty. And that's where, to your point of talking about the uncomfortable things that feel like threats, that's where we would be. We would really be in a situation of, we would look to our source of, honestly, when you look at how we spend our money, we are a service industry. We spend most of our money on people. And so that's where it is a hard conversation to talk about, because when we are in a situation where we could not operate as a district due to our lack of funding, looking at where we spend most of our money is with people. And that's the hard part of this work, and looking at this very carefully, looking at the other 20-ish% of where we spend our money. We want to look there, but the reality is 80 to 83% of our money goes to people.
I appreciate that very much, and I understand those are very hard conversations, and it impacts people and their families, and so I appreciate you being so transparent in mentioning that, because it is hard to come to. I mean, but I do believe that if we have these hard conversations up front, because again, there are still cost savings and cuts that will come with the income tax levy, I think that it would positively impact the outcome of our tax levy on the ballot if we're fully transparent up front before it hits the ballot with our plan. So I think that if the taxpayers can understand where the money is going and exactly the total plan with the $2, $5, $8 million, I truly believe that all of that information will positively impact the outcome.
I 100% agree with transparency. And when we are starting to have those conversations about what reductions look like for our staffing, we certainly will bring those. We've had these hard conversations, preliminary conversations with looking at this plan, not specifically, but talking in generalities with our union membership, with our union leadership, about understanding what the financial forecast looks like. So we're getting there, absolutely. We know that we have to make cuts. We know that we have to save money, and we have to do things differently. And what that looks like is going to start to become more clear for us with our organic processes in looking at staffing, looking at enrollment projections, and then looking at where else we will be saving money in our budgeting process.
Are we still considering consolidation as part of the? Thank you, I'm so sorry. I was using my teacher voice, but I will repeat my question.
Thank you.
Are we still considering consolidation as part of the cost savings measure?
Quite frankly, no.
Okay.
We are not in a position to look at closing any. Is that when you say consolidation, do you mean closing a building, or are you?
I'm thinking more towards,
Like the
no,
physical-
I can clarify.
Things.
Yes, I think part of
Okay.
that question, but also one of the main things that I get asked from community members is, what is the plan for the old property of Parma Senior High School, and are we still moving towards one high school? So I
So-
guess there's multiple
okay.
layers of that
All
question.
right, I'll try.
Yeah.
Okay. So as far as when we are talking about consolidation in terms of closing a building, no. We are close to or at capacity in terms of enrollment in the buildings that we have. So there's not a lot of wiggle room to close a building. In terms of
I want to clarify, I'm not saying to do that. I don't
Thank
want
you.
I'm not advocating to consolidate and close buildings. I just didn't
Sure.
know if that was part of the conversation,
Yep.
because it's a common conversation point amongst districts when they
Right.
get to this point.
And that's where, that's how we have been able to do, and when we think about that levy history, all the no votes, we did not get new money. We have not had new operating money since 2011. And so the community and our staff have felt that. They have done more with less. They have moved, closed buildings, consolidated. So we have been stretched very thin already in the last, 10 to 20, let's see, 15 years. So it's been, so that has happened, and we're going to continue to look at ways to stretch the dollars even further. You had another part to that question.
Are we still moving towards one high school? And I guess part of that is there a plan about what we're doing with the Parma Senior High property?
So those two questions. So the first question is are we still looking to move towards one? That is not something that is up for consideration right now. That would have to be a bond issue if we were looking at establishing a new building or building something to accommodate one building. So that's a no. And then,
Is there I was saying thank you.
yes,
sorry.
and then the property
Yeah.
itself. Right now, that is not something that we are looking at in this season.
So I just want to clarify, and I'm not being contentious with this, just for clarity.
Yes.
The plan currently for 54th's property is there is no plan. For lack of a better term. It's like
yeah.
we're revisiting it at a later time.
We will be revisiting
because
it.
there are other priorities the district is facing in this moment.
That is an excellent way to say it, Dr. Early.
Okay.
We need money to operate what we have.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I just want to reiterate that I really feel it's important as you move forward with the commitment. Is that what we're calling it? With the commitment of the cost savings or the cuts, that we do have a plan of when, with timelines on when you'd come back to when that review process would be completed. Maybe in phases, and bringing that back to the board, and maybe even opening that up to the community as well.
Sure.
Whether it's a work session or whatever that
Like
is.
a work
but
session would
I
be
think that's
ideal.
important, yeah.
That also could be work of the newly established committee that we're putting together as well. Like that could
Absolutely.
be part of that community relations
Yes.
piece too.
Agreed.
One more question. Are there other districts in the area that have come to this income tax levy, or?
So we are.
I'll go ahead. And
Okay.
So I wish I could say this is my idea. I came up with this one night just sitting at home watching TV, but I didn't. I stole this from Willoughby Eastlake. The treasurer there, they're doing the same plan, but they're going with 2%. But they're kind of similar to us, except they have 7 municipalities. I don't know how they operate with 7 municipalities. That must be crazy. But they're doing the same thing. They're phasing out the property taxes, and they're going for a 2% school district income tax. And they're kind of similar to us. They have 3 emergency levies totaling about 16 mills, which we have, and they're at the 20 mil floor, just like we are. So talking to him one day, I probably spent an hour on the phone with him just picking his brain about this. And he said 3 other districts in Lake County are doing the same plan. They might not be doing 2%, but they're doing a similar plan to this. So it's not my brilliant idea. I wish I could claim it, but there
Ms.
are other
McTaggart-
districts.
Ms. McTaggart, I did a deep dive into this. Went down the hole with looking into this. I have a document where I looked at all the surrounding counties who have attempted or who have something like this in place. I'd be happy, I don't have it on me, but I'd be happy to email that to the board just because I do have some of that information more specifically with who has done what at this point in Northeast Ohio, if that would be helpful.
That'd be great.
I will send that out some point tomorrow to our group.
Thank you.
So Dr. Early, I'm proposing that we have, say, a meeting on Wednesday, special meeting to continue this conversation and put up the first vote for the what we call the vote for necessity, a special work session. I know we have a meeting on Thursday, but this seems to be a very important topic to everybody on the board here and the community. So I would think if we spend some time on Wednesday for a special meeting, that it would be beneficial to everybody.
And that would be at 6 p.m. next Wednesday?
Yeah, that's what I'm
The
proposing,
14th?
6 o'clock
Okay.
in the same location we are now,
Would it be
14, Wednesday.
Yes.
Would it be possible to have more information on the cost savings before that meeting?
Well, we don't have a cost savings plan yet. I mean, as Dr. Cruz is saying, that we're gonna go through staffing and budgeting, and that's not gonna happen by Wednesday. It's gonna be, budgeting is probably April, May, and the staffing is probably March, April. So we kind of have general ideas, like we know teachers are retiring, and we're possibly look at, can we have some savings there? But there's some discussions we have with the teachers union about that, and we don't really have a set plan. We have an idea of this is what we want to save, and it's going to take some years to do it, but we're not going to have that type of plan by Wednesday.
So I'm just curious, so if we're going to present this to the community as a package, income tax plus cost savings,
It's just to clarify, sorry to interrupt you, but what we're presenting to the community for approval is the package of the property tax relief and the school district income tax. So that's what they would be voting for at the ballot. And then the part 3 is the work we still have to do as a district. It's not enough. They're approving they need to approve what they're doing with their money to contribute to our revenue, but they're not looking to approve what we're doing to save money and to be able to stay afloat.
I just think that the messaging is important, that the community know what we're doing to still save money, and not just keep asking for it.
I agree, and to your point exactly, and also to what Ms. McTaggart brought up, that idea of where we have to look at our staffing very carefully, and when we threaten, and that term I think was used, like when it looks like a threat that we are saying we have to make cuts or increase class size, we want to be factual behind that and not just put that out there. And so we can anticipate that there will be a reduction in some areas. We have to. I mean, there will likely be a reduction, but we don't know where, we don't know how. We know that some of that reduction may happen organically through attrition with retirements. And there's a pretty significant number this year of certified staff who are retiring. So that number might be enough. And so to say we're going to have to cut teachers is well, it's painful, but it also may not be true. And so we need to wait until we see how that all ends up with the staffing piece. And that's just part of what we'll do in that next phase of this.
Okay, thank
I just want to say I appreciate the data collection in that, and that's why I keep talking about the reviewing and coming back, because that is going to provide the data and not coming out and just generalizing. We're going to cut, we're going to do pay to play, you guys are actually going on a fact-finding mission.
Thank you, yes.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we need to do, Mr. Nucio, to solidify the special meeting?
No, I'll just have Ms. Vanchko notice it tomorrow, and then I will work with the legal counsel to have him write up the first resolution, and we will have the meeting at 6, and we'll have it, make sure it's televised.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Cruz, Mr. Nucio, thank you for
you.
the presentation and answering all of our questions, and I look forward to the additional conversation and work that we'll do next Wednesday evening. Any other information requested by board members at this time? Okay. I move to adopt Resolution 2026-01-09 to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2026-01-09. Roll call, please, Mr. Nucio, on Resolution 2026-01-09.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Kerpick,
Yes.
Mrs. McTaggart,
Yes.
Mr. Reyes.
Yes.
All right, meeting adjourned. Do I have to do this? The gavel? Is that a thing? Or is that just?
Yeah.
All right. Woo, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
So I think.